Just
Like,
imagine being device man having to compete against this for the second year in a row. They're like, fuck.
I
Like, what
think
am I
he'll
supposed
take
to
all
do,
the
man?
major trophies, bro. I
Yeah,
think like as
shit.
much as being the best player in the world would probably be great. I think like just turning around and looking at your major MVPs and looking at your fucking major trophies and like looking at all the cars that you're buying and you know, I don't know if he's buying cars. I hope he's buying something a bit more sensible than cars. But either way, he's probably having a great time. Welcome to HLTV Confirmed, episode 21 of season 5. It's also the last episode that we'll be doing here in 2020. I can be cliche and say it's been a tough year, but I'd say for Counter-Strike, it's probably been a pretty good year. We're going to be covering a lot of things off this year, well, this show, of what's been happening in 2020, the ups and downs, the best teams, the best players, the worst teams, the worst players, the recent news. There's been a lot happening. We'll dive into quickly IEM Global Challenge, probably not too much to discuss right there. And we don't have a guest tonight, so there'll be none of that hot seat bullshit. We will be having more of a roundtable discussion, and we haven't done this in some time. So let's introduce the crew. Lucas, say hello.
Hello, guys.
All right, Prof, I didn't think of any funny questions to ask. I'm just kind of trying to keep my eyes open at this point. So do you have anything?
How's that going?
We'll make it. We'll make it. This means I won't get jet lagged, which would seem insane when I'm flying within the same time zone. But that's what happens when you don't sleep the night before. And Striker, you're joining us here as well. What's with the haircut, mate? What inspired it?
The fact that hairdressers are swamped as hell and they're probably about to get closed again. So I was like, just fuck it, right?
All right, they're probably two pretty good reasons. Now, the show the show for all of you at home, if you've noticed, if you've been watching the last couple of episodes, the last handful we've been doing, has been sponsored by Xtfry. So they're powering this here this evening, and we will actually be doing some giveaways, I do believe, but hang around for that. That'll be towards the tail end. Now, I see you're all here in the chat. There's no more Tier 1 Counter-Strike going on, and we're probably going to get stuck into things very quickly. But in case any of you are interested, and you're probably not, if you're thinking of traveling on an airplane around Christmas during COVID, probably don't fucking do it. There's all this bullshit. You got to get a PCR test before getting on a plane. There's a guy checking out a form and he makes you fill out another form. And then the guy leaves the room. So then you got to fill out the form again. Then you're arguing with another guy that you just filled out the form while showing the PCR test, emailing the PCR test. And there's more bullshit about this fucking thing they jam halfway into your nose. You don't want to do it. So that was my day. I'm a bit cranky. I was delayed by 2 hours. I had to leave the fucking hotel at 6:30 in the morning. And then I had to do the entire broadcast of IEM Global Challenge from my bedroom that I was very much looking forward to. So I'm a bit of a salty fucking individual right now. But we're going to get into the recent news. So Lucas, play the fucking bumper. All right, we're back. Lucas told me you needed to play an ad, so he obviously lied to me, and now he's saying no. So
later.
Okay, ads later. We're gonna bait everybody in, and then we're gonna play the ads. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make sure all your eyes are glued, and then throw the ads in front of your face. But we're gonna get stuck into the recent news, boys. Now, if people missed it, the other night after Team Liquid were unshockingly eliminated from the grand final of IEM Global Challenge against Astralis. It seems like a broken record at this point, doesn't it? Twistzz came out live in the post-game exit interview saying that he was no longer a part of Liquid. Now, I feel like this one dropped as a bit of a bombshell for everybody, Prof. People didn't seem to see this one coming.
No, I mean, people have been critical about him and his performances. Not only him on Liquid, overall, everyone was talking about Liquid as someone that could potentially make a roster move. I mean, we were even talking about it last week with Alu. I think the way I framed the question was like, if they don't make it out of the groups, do they need the roster change? It seems like they made it out of the groups, they made it to the final, still are making a roster change, and apparently probably even winning the tournament wouldn't change anything, right? There's something that was already decided. So kind of caught people off guard in one way. In another way, it was expected, right?
Well, what did you think about him coming out and doing this during the interview, Striker? This is something we haven't seen before.
I kind of like that. Just as long as like the match is fresh and you just that this comes down as a bomb, I kind of like that approach. It's kind of new. We haven't really had it. It's not the typical, just organization comes in with like a PR statement. He just does it on his own, in his own words. Didn't feel like he really prepared too much for it. It's just like just something he felt like he needed to do. I don't think it was very particularly planned too ahead of time. It was just something that he probably came up with like relatively last minute. So yeah.
I mean, it was kind of, there was a report going on. It was prepared more or less. It was going to be released after it was released straight after the grand final. So there's obviously some conversation about let's just get in front of it and say it's like, if people are already talking about it and it's going to happen, it's true. So what the point? It was a perfect opportunity, and like props to Twistzz because he steered the ship into that. It wasn't that like someone asked him and then he replies like, I want to say this, and it's pretty nice.
Sure, I think some of the things here, which I think it's great of Twistzz to come out and do this because it seems like there's a lot of transparency to it. But the thing that kind of sucks, and I think that puts a bit of dampener on like Liquid's time in Europe, then is like they were region locked all year. They already got rid of Nitro. They already got rid of Adren, and then they kept the roster as is with Graham, and they added Moses, and things were going average, but they were blocked in North America. They come to Europe, the results, they didn't even play that many games. So they didn't even play that many series, right? When we look at it, like how many series we've been talking about with all these teams playing all year long, and then they still want to make a roster change. So not only do I sit there and go, well, you just made it to the grand final. How long before this did Twistzz know he was no longer a part of the project? Or did he decide he no longer wanted to be a part of the project? And then, like, does that put a dampener on any of their results in that tournament? Because is it just one of those things where we've seen this in the past plenty of times before, Prof, where remember when NIP back in the day, they were going to that Dubai tournament and they were meant to be dying, and then they played with like just loosey-goosey and they played well and then they stuck together. Do you feel like that adds any what's the word? It kind of puts like a negative shade on Liquid
like
in that
an
event.
asterisk on their achievement here. I didn't think about it before, but now when you say it, maybe to some degree, it also makes it kind of pointless that they had some kind of a resurgence. We could talk about it later, but let's talk about it now. So fuck it. They finally had a good tournament in Europe. Like the first one, they got knocked out early, I think, and then they had the blast, which the showdown,
it was the other way around, I think. But
yeah, it was the other way around, right? But still, it was like this is their good showing, and you think like maybe they can take this on into next year and build upon it, right? If they come back to Europe kind of early, which I guess is expected, but it's not going to happen, right? Now they have someone else, and especially if the rumor is that it's FalleN. That's going to change like everything for the team, right? It's going to change all of the roles, in-game leading, everything. So it's pretty much like a blank slate.
What's your initial take on that, though, Striker, when you hear that it is FalleN replacing Twistzz? Does that, first of all, does that make sense with the player and the role? And second of all, do you think it makes sense with it being FalleN, somebody who, to be fair, if we're going to be honest, has struggled to in-game lead his teams in the last couple of years to any success? Like the last trophy MIBR one was that Zotac Cup with Yanko, right? And that's with Stewie and fucking Tarek on the roster.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's definitely that. They're obviously kind of like hitting two birds with one stone, with getting an in-game leader and an AWPer is just like two roles that kind of have been an issue for them for quite a while, especially like after Nitro left. That was a big gap that they had to fill. Stewie obviously is probably a pretty capable in-game leader. He's had quite a bit of experience with it, so I wouldn't say that it was like a massive issue, but it's just, it's always better to have like somebody who's dedicated to it, and since he can also AWP, and he hasn't been that bad like individually when it comes to FalleN, apart from like the all the way at the last, in the last month or so with MIBR, he's been in a pretty decent form, and obviously they made it work with like a, I'm gonna call Nitro an average AWPer before, and they made it work with him. So I feel like if they could do that, they can still do it now. We'll see if it works. I feel like it's just one of those moves that can go either way. That could either be pretty genius just because they finally fix all their issues, right? Or it could just bomb because FalleN doesn't have an idea of how to play with an entirely new team, an entirely different set of players and stuff like that. So I could see this go both ways.
I want to kind of stick on this FalleN point here for a second, Prof, because what Strike is posing is like the old system, obviously when they had Nitro and Twistzz, or you could even go to the version that they had with Taco and Zeus in the roster, they were able to make it work without having a star AWPer, right? But FalleN, when he's been his best, has been a star AWPer, and we've seen him try and do more rifling stuff when they had Gen.G in the mix. We've seen him try to be, I want to say, less aggressive on the ADV for periods, but it's never been the same. So has there been enough of do you believe enough in FalleN that he can reinvent his gameplay to work in this team with the tools at his disposal?
I think like that part, like his individual style with this team, I think that's going to be a problem. Because as you said, like he is a guy that needs to go aggressive. Not needs, but like that is his style. That's what we know him for. So if you don't do that, then FalleN's not going to be great as an AWPer. But maybe that's not an issue because, as Striker said, you have Nitro. But then it's about like how does the style work if he's not the guy finding the opening? Because that's the way he called, right? He calls, I'm going to do this, and then after that we do this like slow style where people just like exploit the openings, right, and play around with the rotation stuff like that. That's his style. I honestly think it's like if we have to call it, and you have to call it right now, I don't think it's a good move. I think it would be better to get an AWPer as someone like Brokey to play the passive AWPer role, fit into the system, and have Stewie call with like the aggressive rifle style that they have been working with in the past. I think that was the better option than to get FalleN. I don't know how everything's going to work. English communication from an in-game leader that hasn't been calling in English, his style individually, just the styles of like calling. Too many question marks for me, I think. And FalleN is 29.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything else that we've been talking about FalleN's potential motivation not being as high as it was in the past. I don't think it's the best idea for Liquid.
Sure, I kind of agree with that. I think if they're going to pick him up here, I wouldn't want him the one who, like, sure, have him doing the calling and maybe the mid-round instinctual stuff, and he could call the shots off of the strats that they come up with and make. But I would want like Stewie and the Elisias of the world, the guys who I know are still of the younger generation and are geeking out the current meta worth of Counter-Strike. Liquid have been a competitive team over the last 2 years, like 2018, 2019, 2020. We can't count because of all this fucking bullshit. But they obviously played well in the last tournament with all of these circumstances and still made it work with their style, right? So they're obviously doing something right. It was just the little details there. Now, Striker, before we move on to talk about what this kind of means for Twistzz and his career, do you agree with Prof, or do you think this is a move that is good?
I don't know, man. I honestly feel like it's so hard to call just because I feel like because Liquid haven't really been playing a very complicated style of CS. I feel like it's not going to be a massive difference in that aspect. I do agree with like I guess not a role clash necessarily, but there are going to have to be moves just because they're exchanging Twistzz, who was like the Pit Inferno player, kind of like a more passive player on the CT side, with an AWPer so there's going to have to be a lot of switches around. So it just depends if they might manage to find the roles for everybody that they need to make this work. And I feel like they have relatively versatile players to do that. So I think there's a decent chance that they do find a solution, but I feel like it just depends on if they're going to be comfortable in it or not. And that's going to decide it, I feel like. So again, if I had to call,
sounds like you're on the fence a bit.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the fence. So I can see both sides. If I had to choose, I'd probably agree with Prof and say that I'd probably go with somebody younger and like an up-and-coming game leader or just an up-and-coming AWPer and leave Stewie to call.
Yeah.
What do you think, SPUNJ?
Like, I want to have faith. Like, I really do. Like, I want to sit here and go, this will show that the old boys can still get it done, especially in like an in-game league. Because I don't think FalleN's fragging. I'd have to check the stats. People are going to be like, you don't fucking check. Yeah, didn't watch North American Counter-Strike this year, guys. It really wasn't on the fucking top of my to-do list. I'm sorry. But I feel like FalleN can still contribute. But my vision of FalleN contributing is the flashy moments. It's not the moments that we need in modern CS. So I'm going to, I think I just have to like be unanimous here with the group. It just feels like this is fixing two problems that they clearly have, but it feels like they're fixing the two problems that they clearly have with something that it hasn't worked in a long time. They're kind of banking on the fact that he's going to find his motivation again. He's going to catch up with current meta Counter-Strike, and he is going to be able to lead this team who in 2018 and 2019 were on the cusp of being one of if not the best team if Astralis didn't exist, right? So it's a really tough task. That's why it's even hard for Moses to be a coach in this situation, right? You were on a team who's at the top, and now you join. Well, if you don't make them a top 3, top 5 team in the world, you fucking failed. So I think that's, if we're putting that level of context on it, it's probably not the right move. I think that they should have started a couple steps back before trying to push in this direction.
That's the kind of problem with Liquid, because they have always been assigning like the top players and like the cream of the crop almost. Even in Grim's case, yeah, it was from a smaller team, someone that's not that proven, but the stats were like he was the guy that stood out from all of these North American teams that were under the Liquid EG Chaos. Maybe even if you look at Chaos, probably they didn't have like a standout player to the same degree.
He was not their saying for sure.
Yeah, like to the degree of like him standing out from his teammates, right? So that is that kind of a signing, and then you grab a FalleN who's obviously past his prime. Like he'll never be the same FalleN he was in like 2016. I think that's fair to say, and that's why it's a weird move for Liquid, especially, right?
If they were thinking about like the next generation, if this junior kid, like apparently there's rumors, right? He's meant to be going to Furia. That's what the rumors a couple of months ago were, or whatever it was. But if this kid seems like he has probably enough to try and mold. I don't know his personality. I don't know his temperament. I don't know any of those things. But just off his individual ability and some of the highlights I've seen, it's probably worth a gamble in the region, knowing that you now get a chance. You can get somebody cheap. You can build him up. You can mold him to have him however you want. And yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But let's focus in just for a second on this Twistzz situation. Now, with Twistzz departing the team, no longer being part of Liquid, this is a highly experienced, very skilled individual who's probably only reason for dipping off in recent time, because he's still young, right? He's only 21, is probably motivation or COVID, or like I would chalk up a lot of his recent downturn in performances to those factors right there. So when we consider all of those things, are there any teams that come to the tip of your tongue here, Prof, like immediately who'd be like, wow, fuck, Twistzz thrown in this team here would be such an improvement?
I think OG for Issa is the classic one. Like people have been talking about OG, like saying Twistzz to OG, but not saying for who that much. I think like even Issa in the style of what they play, like they're the two highest like headshot percentage players. It's just like a direct upgrade. Obviously, like English is going to be better as well. Not saying that Issa is a bad player, but I think that's a pretty strong upgrade for OG and would make sense overall. And he is also, OG's problem is like overcalling and having too many talkative players. Not saying like Twistzz doesn't talk, but he's not the guy that's going to be calling, right? He's not that type. And I think one of the biggest issues for Twistzz in Liquid was that he kind of took the more supportive roles, or didn't get the roles that he wanted in the team with like Elige and NAF. That kind of pushed him to the side. And even, of course, if you have Stewie on the op, then he also needs to get space. So yeah, I think that's an issue that Twistzz want to resolve by moving out of Liquid.
Okay. And Striker, is there any names that you think that he'd fit in straight away? Do you think like North American soil, European soil? It doesn't matter. Like, is any ideas?
I mean, the only North American team that I see him joining would be EG, pretty obviously. There's really nobody else below the top 4, right? So it's just, I mean, if you include Fury in that conversation. So I feel like that's the only place where he could potentially go. I don't know if they're looking into changes or anything. We haven't really heard any much from them, apart from them skipping tournaments in the last stretch of the year. So it's hard to say whether they're aiming for some changes. It's possible, because they're like, that last stretch was pretty bad for them. They also haven't been looking very good. Potentially is just, they didn't have enough time in Europe to get back from that. I'm not sure exactly, because they really only played, I think they only played the fall series, right, in Europe, and then they went back to North America and stayed there. So they only really played one tournament in Europe, and I don't think you can really judge them on that. We saw how Furia did at the first event, and then they came back into pretty decent form from there on. So hard to say if they were looking into changes. I could see him joining them, just on the basis of them being the same team for quite a long time. And in terms of Europe, it's like Mouse Sports is not really looking for that type of a player. They already have Robs, who's kind of would be kind of a 1-for-1, at least closest to it, I think. So I really don't know anybody apart from that.
There's like a lot of, I would say there's a lot of moving and shaking that's possible, right? Not just with Twistzz, with a lot of players, like the Gen.G boys, like Benta, Automatic, Kusta.
I didn't think of.
Yeah, I guess, but at the same
That's not
time,
really like a functional team at the moment, so it's hard to say like what they need or don't need.
Yeah, but I mean, we're expecting probably a bigger overhaul in FaZe. If they're going to do something, it's probably going to be more than just like one player, get Olaf out. But even instead of Olaf, I feel like Twistzz would be okay. It's just they probably just need a much bigger change to make it work overall, just to kind of get that some of that firepower that they lost with Nico leaving back.
What about what about this for a second, Struggle? Because like we're obviously running down the path here of Europe, and I think a lot of people in chat were mentioning that he said he's wanted to stay in Europe, and that would make sense.
I think he said something like that.
If people follow him on social media or whatever, it's quite public that like he's either between Germany or Canada, right? It's where his girlfriend is. They're very public about their relationship, it seems, within the social media. So that would be something which means he could be closer to that, right? So moving to Europe would make sense for a lot of reasons for him.
Yep.
But like Extremum is like a team right now, and maybe it's not the caliber that he's looking for. Maybe he wants to go to something that would be cracking straight into those tier ones, right? But you think about it, like you got Azza, you got Liaz,
like a jkaem replacement, sure.
Yeah, like he's obviously going to fill a bit of a different role, but like that team right there, like if he could probably be the star player of that team. So I also think with the Automatics, the Bentets, the Kustas, obviously most of these guys are residing in North America right now, but it feels like people, especially people who want to be pushing for tier 1 Counter-Strike, happy to take any risks. So this could be quite the holiday period. We might have to check in if some of these roster changes go nuts.
There's like Contact, who's who's just kind of like looking for a new team to sign. So there could be like a new North American team coming together with like those names that you just mentioned, Automatic and Twistzz coming together and just like building something there. I could see that happen for sure. Yeah.
We might have to sniff out a couple more clues, I guess, before we can narrow in. But I think just the key I wanted before we stop talking about Twistzz is I think that he's still an absolute class player with a long career left. So, hopefully he sticks with us. Hopefully he doesn't go to Valorant. And hopefully we get to see him playing some tier 1 Counter-Strike again soon. But let's shift this.
I'd be surprised if he didn't get any offers, to be honest.
I think this time of year, definitely there'll be offers fucking flying out the door. Like even teams who might be wanting to try the 6-man experiment, right? Like you wouldn't want Twistzz as your 6, but maybe you've got like a weaker player who you want to put, on 1 or 2 maps and bring Twistzz in for like an experience bolster as well.
That's a situation maybe with Mouse Sports, with BMUS going to the 6th place, right?
That's not a bad call. That role wise wouldn't be terrible either. Yeah, that's not a bad one.
Would be a different thing for Twistzz, but maybe he's up for that. Who knows?
Get him stuck in. See if he can use that mechanical aim on a little bit of an entry turret. Let's talk about ZywOo extending his contract with Vitality until 2024. Initially, my thoughts on this one was, oh fuck, we're going to be around until 2024. So I was kind of happy to see that. Prof, is there anything else that we should be getting excited about with this move other than Vitality fans?
I don't know. I guess it just means that we'll have a competitive Vitality until 2024. I think that's the guy. I mean, he can always get bought out, but probably not anytime soon. And I mean, it's also good for you, SPUNJ, because having Vitality in the top 3 means no international team in the top 3 potentially.
Working perfectly.
At least one less spot works perfectly for you. I think it's very nice, like the way we have the top 3 now, which is like Astralis, NAVI, and Vitality. We have like these 3 different things. Like we have the simple camp, we have the ZywOo camp, and we have the team over there. And I mean, I don't want to take too much away from Vitality because someone's going to come and be butthurt or whatever. Apeks does so much things, blah blah. RPK is a tank. But you know what? We have like a cool storyline triangle between those three teams, which is cool.
Yeah, I hope that continues. Definitely. You got anything on this one, Striker?
Yeah, sure. I think just kind of makes sense for ZywOo to make this. I mean, obviously makes sense for Vitality to make this move. They just want to lock in the best player, well, basically like one of the two best players of the last 2 years, right? For as long as possible. That makes perfect sense. And then from the other side, I feel like it makes sense too, just because Vitality have been, I feel like, the closest to Astralis in terms of like the professional setup around the team, like the support staff and stuff like that. I feel like that's definitely shown over the course of this year, especially with like, you know, the 6-man coming in and them attempting to do some new things and actually even leading the way in that aspect. So I feel like it's a pretty smart move from both sides. I don't really mind it. Sure, it's a long time and, you know, whatever things can happen, but I feel like Vitality are the closest to like a stable thing that you can have at this point in time. I don't think there's too much of a choice. Like everybody else is really unstable, apart from Astralis, as I was talking about. So I feel like this makes sense.
Yeah, I think before we would have been critical when we saw these length of contracts, right? Like I think we all remember it with the VP stuff early on. I think we all remember it with the Fury one being like, these are just kids and they're locking themselves into this team and they're not going to be able to, you know, get upgraded to the best Brazilian camp. Well, now they are the best Brazilian camp. So this one here is obviously different because of the star factor of ZywOo. I would hope that his agent negotiated a bloody juicy looking deal, right? Because 4 years. You think about where Counter-Strike has gone since 2013, since we had the first major to now. I think people would probably agree that at the moment we might be starting to plateau a little bit in terms of having those really high. Well, I think the buyouts keep going up because people keep fucking doing insane buyouts. But in terms of salaries, surely they're starting to level out somewhere. But somebody like ZywOo, like a ZywOo, a simpler device, you know, you can maybe throw the Nikos in the mix. There's a couple of other really big star names that have profiles as well as just being super good in the game, right?
And just longevity. I think that's the thing.
He's young as well, right? That's the so this for ZywOo is great. Like hopefully he's also got someone helping him manage his money so he never has to work another fucking day in his life after he's done playing professional Counter-Strike. He's only 20, right? If you put a big bag, someone's telling him, yeah, buy some property, buy some fucking, well, maybe not now. I don't know. I shouldn't be giving financial advice during a global pandemic.
You should be giving financial
maybe
advice.
Wait like 6 months for the crisis to hit and then buy property. That's the idea.
Where's the economy tanks and the world starts ripping itself limb from limb? Anyway, let's keep moving because we got a lot to cover this evening in terms of recent news and roster changes. And I'm positive, boys. In about 2 weeks' time, we're going to have so much juicy fucking gossip to go through with all these changes. This one caught me by surprise, more in the way it was announced, less in the fact that it's happening.
Did you watch the video?
I didn't watch the video, no.
The Apeks one, you mean?
Yeah.
So for those who missed it, jkaem is reportedly on his way out the door of Apeks. I'm pretty sure he's been there for about 6 days in total.
Like 3 months, I think, yeah.
But the thing is, everybody who saw jkaem making that move was like, this is just his get out of jail free card, so the motherfucker doesn't have to stay in North America anymore, right? Like, unless he was sold a bit of a dud one there, where they was like, yeah, dude, we're going to be the Norwegian brand, we're going to be like Ents, we're going to be like Astralis. Obviously, Astralis is the dream, but like
maybe he was sold like we'll be like Ents, and then he saw what's happening with Ents, and he's like,
yeah,
fuck this shit.
Get the fuck out. I missed the episode where you guys tried to burn down the entire Finnish scene.
I mean, we didn't try, but we managed to do it. I think
you fanned the flames. Did you help? Were you there
accidentally? Don't finish fans. Don't come knocking on my doors.
Yeah, just the thing would happen is just somebody threw a lighted match and we just let it go, right? That's all we did. We just let it go on its own. We did nothing to help out.
No.
To be honest, I don't even know to this day. I don't even understand what kicked off the whole avalanche, starting with the Sergey tweet. Like, what exactly did Alo say to trigger that? I don't even know. Like, he didn't even say anything. Dude, it was weird.
There was nothing controversial about what Alo was saying.
But it's probably what he didn't say, right? When you think about it, because the whole thing was like, it's not the whole truth or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, probably, yeah.
That was 4 days into me thinking I had COVID. So I was like, kind of like thinking, guys, I didn't think I was going to die. But when the whole broadcast, we can't do it and stuff, and you don't know if you're sick and you're slightly anxious about it and that kind of shit. You didn't know. We thought we were going to be stuck there for Christmas and everything. But you guys did that. I was watching, I was reading the tweets, and I was thinking, Jesus Christ, I'm glad. Like, if I was there, I'd probably make this worse somehow. So I'm glad that I got to be a bystander in that one. But this jkaem situation, I guess it's here nor there what he was told or what he thought was going to happen when he got to Apeks. The factor is that the team came out and said he was on the way out the door, right? And then the agent came out and said, well, the deal's not done yet. I don't know why the fuck they're saying this. Is that right, Striker?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much that's exactly what happened. The organization just like kicked him out the door, even though he's apparently still contracted. The agent came in to amend that and then just to put things straight. And that's basically it. Like apparently he's still contracted to Apeks. He still remains there, but he's in talks with some team, unannounced team.
So if you're a betting man here, Prof, would you say he is out the door? And if he is, where's his foot? Well, where's that door leading?
If he wasn't out of the door when that announcement was made, I'm pretty sure he is now. So, but no, there is like an additional part to this story, which I find interesting. So this happened, just give me so I can find the date. So it's like 19th of December is when jkaem said to leave Apeks. The news came out. And then 10th of December, so that's 9 days before that, Apeks announced that they loaned out Nasty, which was definitely their worst player, like a complete unknown player that they signed from Norway. They extended with him, and they're going to have him like a development player or something, and they're going to loan him out to some Norwegian team. At the same time, it says, blah, blah, they're aiming to reach new heights with jkaem. The rest of the squad have also extended their contracts with Dennis, Marcelius, and whatever, blah, blah, someone else. Grusard and Paulie, the coach, extended throughout 2021. So everyone extended contracts. Is this the reason why jkaem is like, okay, maybe
There's
I don't
no
want
roster changes happening.
Yeah, maybe this is just like maybe one roster change that can happen. This is not enough or whatever. I'm not really sure what happened in that regard, but I found it super weird. And when you watch the video of the Apeks ownership or management, two people sitting and talking about it, they look completely defeated. They look like super disappointed because, and what they're saying is essentially like our plan was to have like a Norwegian super team, like the best team in Norway, competing internationally for like the top places. And now this plan has to be put on hold. So we'll figure out what we can do and like move from there. So it doesn't really seem like they wanted this to happen in any way. I'm not sure. I guess we'll wait and see what really happened, right?
Well, he was signed for fucking 3 years.
Jesus Christ.
3 months ago.
So his
Nothing makes sense.
buyout, but that means that he's like, okay, so the fact that they even got him from 100 Thieves, I don't know if they did some like fucking backdoor deal where they were like, listen, boys, fucking 100
There's
Thieves,
some
man.
voodoo
Like,
for sure, yeah.
his fucking contract, his visa's expiring. We got to get him fuck out the country before he gets deported or some shit, man. Let's just sell him to anyone who wants him. Like, they just got whatever money they fucking could. Who knows? But I'm going to assume that's not the case. I'm going to assume that Apeks probably paid through the nose. They were going to use jkaem as a bit of like a franchise player or some shit, trying to get Rain when he eventually, is no longer in phase. Try and get Hauser back from Dignitas. Yeah, exactly, right? Maybe get a shovel out, dig Croman out of the grave that he's in at the moment or something, and revive like Norwegian Counter-Strike, at least through some of the positives we've seen over them over these years. But if he's going, I'm bouncing, right? That must mean whoever is coming to flop their big dick on the table must have a shitload of money. And I thought, oh, maybe he is going to go to FaZe, and because we know that's fucked there, and maybe they want to pick him up. But at the same time, we know that from Yanko, right, that FaZe either couldn't get deals done or weren't willing to spend the money. So that one there was my original thought, and then I had this dumb thought. You ready for this dumb thought? It's really not that dumb. If Liaz, Gratisfaction, and Azza are all moving from North America to Europe, right? If this rumor that is circulating is true, and now they're going to some Russian organization, which probably just has a shitload of money, because I don't know how all these Russian organizations have a shitload of money.
Like a son of an oligarch or something, probably.
They're literally just sleeping on beds of just dollar bills. So these guys probably have a shitload of money, if I'm hazarding a guess. So they've gone, well, let's get the boys back together, and they've got jkaem. And then why not, if I'm just going to continue this wild ride of just craziness, why don't they just go, well, Ben Tet used to fuck us all the time in the Asian minors, so why don't we just plug him in as a JKS replacement, and we'll just pretend this is the team, right? Like, that right there seems like the most likely. I don't know about the Ben Tet thing, but like when I'm trying to put all these pieces together, I just don't see who else would want like, no offense to Jacob, I'm not saying that he's not a good player. I think he is a good player, but he wouldn't be the first person you'd go to as like, we're going to pick up like a star player. Like
3 months into his 3-year contract.
It's insane. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure.
Can I throw in one more name?
Yeah,
I know what this is. This kind of makes the most sense, but I'm thinking Mouse Sports is a thought.
No way, Mouse Sports are playing.
They don't have the money.
I'm not saying. I'm
No
not.
way.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're selling ROPS and they just got a lot of money. I don't know. I'm just saying.
They
That's an
probably
option.
just signed like another Lithuanian wonder kid.
Probably. I'm just saying there's an option just because BMOS, was never meant to be in this position, and jkaem is like an entry fragger, that type of thing,
Yeah, it's just weird to see like this whole thing. So it wouldn't be happening unless jkaem had something lined up, right? Like the organization wouldn't be booting him unless someone came knocking on the door and said, "Listen, we want this guy, and
Also,
we're going
like
to pay
one thing
whatever."
about the agent, like number one, should we ever like believe agents whose like purpose is to prop up the value of their players, which if the player is already signed, his value cannot be propped up, right? So maybe he's just making it sound like, oh, he has more options. Let's do
try and
this.
get him some more money.
Get some like a higher salary, etc., higher signing bonus, because that is what the agents make their money from mostly.
Sure.
At least from what I know. So if someone knows anything else,
I just don't know. I just don't know how he would be doing that with what he said. It's just like the organization already said there's like an offer on the table that jkaem can't refuse, right? It's that type of a thing.
That must be mega money then, man. Can't refuse. Jesus.
I mean, they also said like in that statement, obviously it's just words, God knows, right? But they said like they spent a lot of money to get jkaem back to Norway, right? So there's just some clues in there that they're probably supporting what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, and I guess if they can make some money back, right? At the end of the day, this is a business for everybody involved. Yeah. We'll wait and see how this one here develops. There could be a lot happening with jkaem in the Norwegian scene. Let's keep this one trucking along. So there was a report. Was it a DK report?
Yep.
I'm not okay. So this one came out like this. I swear to God, when I didn't sleep overnight, I was like looking on my phone. This is the one about what is his name? Jackinho. Did we say it? Okay.
Jackinho.
Oh yeah, that's right. They don't do the J's. Okay. Yeah. So I saw that Pitta was saying good things about him. I had a quick look at like his stats this year. Obviously, not too many games recorded on HLTV.org. I think you'd have to dig deeper into the Swedish scene to actually see. But this was a name, Prof, that GODSENT mentioned the other day.
Yeah, when he was on the show, like when we asked him about Swedish up-and-comers, he did mention like 6 names or something, and Jackinho was one of them. So
Jackinho wasn't the first name that he said.
Wasn't the first, but like maybe there's a reason why he wasn't. Like
he was sandbagging.
You're never gonna say first, right? Which girls do you like? It's like Joanna, and then it's like and you have to think about like those that are obviously not the one to say first. So
so
GODSENT's being smart.
Let's think about this, right? Like if this is a 6-man experiment, which I don't hate it. We always talk about the fact that Fnatic are one of these teams who play like off-meta Counter-Strike, right? Like they don't have like the role-playing AWPer or even the star AWPer who plays the roles. They don't have, they're a bit more irregular when it comes to their approach to their game and their style. If they were going to be bringing in a player like this, do you think necessarily it has to be JW as the one who they'd like plug and push right here, or do you think they could be with almost any player depending on the map, Striker?
I just don't think it's a 6-man experience.
Okay.
Experiment.
Okay.
He did
I
also,
just feel like
GODSENT also said that on the show, right?
That's what I was about to say. That GODSENT literally like listed 10 different things to say that it's probably not for them, just because they are working like very like based on chemistry and stuff like that, which is obviously hard to build with a new player, and they don't really have like easily slotted in roles and shit like that. So he listed all these kinds of things that made a lot of sense with Fnatic just based on how they've been playing. So unless like the organization is kind of forcing it on them or whatever, I don't see this as a 6-man roster. Maybe GODSENT was just being that smart, right? Just like throwing us off the scent and trying to make it seem like they're not going for it. But I just think it makes sense that it's that they don't go for a 6-man roster, and it's just going to be some direct replacement.
Okay, so then in that case, if you think it's going to be a direct replacement, who then? JW, Flusher? What are we looking at?
I guess both are on the table, but
it wouldn't be Crims or Brolin, right? Unless
Yeah.
one of them
No,
wanted
probably not.
out. Like those two are the best two players in the team, and then Golden, you need him to in-game lead.
Yeah, I guess there are like 3 options. It can be Flusha straight up, can be J, and then JW goes on the rifle if this guy's going to be opping, right?
Which can work.
Or you replace JW and this guy is opping, or it's Golden and then you have someone else in game lead,
Flusha
which
could
would
do
be Flusha, right?
Yep.
Those are the 3 options that you're going to have. I like Crimson, Brolin, not options, I think.
Okay. So you guys both think it's not going to be the 6-man situation. I'm just going to just hedge and just say it is because it's fucking in fashion right now.
Sure.
I'm just going to go with that. I'm going to say Khan's gotten on the phone and he's gone, listen, boys, back in my day, back when I was the best fucking in-game leader in the world, things were different, but now we've got to keep up and we need a 6. I don't know. I'm sure they're going to do something wild. So let's keep our eyes peeled on the Swedish scene and see if anything changes because it's been, 2019 when they got the band back together for DreamHack Masters, Malmo, bang. And they won it over Vitality. My memory's working. I'm not that tired. All right. Let's move on to the next recent news topic. We've got GODSENT. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Another roster.
Here we go.
There's a lot happening, man.
There's so much happening. Okay, so as we all know, or maybe you don't know, the other week, go back and watch the show. Alu was on with Prof and Striker, and the entire Finnish scene melted down. So that adds a lot of validity to what we're talking about here, because ENCE is basically fucked. I think the management came out and said, yeah, shit's fucked. We're gonna take a look at it. We're gonna look at it, and we'll get back to it. But like, can you imagine Natu? Like, he's probably looking after his kids. He's not even watching the podcast. So, oh yeah, Alu's going on. You know, he's doing some pub. Like, didn't ENCE make quite a comical tweet about it? Like they were saying you don't want to miss this one. I was like, I don't know what it was, but then all that shit happened. But anyway, because ENCE is such a mess. It seems like a lot of players don't want to be there. Sergey's gone, Ariel's gone, X7 got fucking thrown away, Alexi B he's gone.
The fact that Ariel's gone
signed
so quick after Alu said it was like a long-term thing and he's still working on it on the podcast, like the whatever 2 days before the Ariel got signed by HAVU.
Yeah,
he said like there's like a long-term thing going on. He didn't want to say what. That's understandable. Like a long-term thing going on with Ariel, who's kind of like trying to get ahead of it and stuff like that. 2 days later, he just gets signed by HAVU to a new team. Like, that's fishy. Like, something's going on, man.
I think that just tells you how bad the situation was in the team there, right? Like, yeah. That's got to be it.
They're coming for you.
Fucking cops are coming for me. But yeah, so when we consider all those factors, it makes sense that Sunny might be on the way out the door. But if GODSENT are looking at Sunny, does that mean he's replacing Emmy? Prof?
I mean, Emmy is still trialing, so
yeah.
Sure,
okay. All right. Okay, yeah. That context adds a lot. So let's quickly just jump back. If you guys missed it, Emmy came in and has temporarily taken the place from Crystal, and we saw him actually have some good performances against Astralis.
He top fragged.
Yes, and he was looking good. So it would be curious if they were going to do this, but there is the link, right, between Sticko and Sunny. So maybe there's the rekindling there
between Zen and Sunny.
Oh,
from Penta, right?
Oh,
so they go back a long way, right? There's the 2 links there. I think both relationships are pretty okay. I think despite Sticko being booted like from Mousesports and everything, I think there isn't any bad blood in that relationship.
Does this make sense to you though, Striker? Do you think Sunny has been a competent in-game leader during his time in ENCE, or do you think he will not be the in-game leader if he went to GODSENT?
I think he would.
Okay.
I think that makes the most sense. They clearly wanted a different in-game leader. That's why they were going after Emmy. I imagine that's what they're aiming for with Sunny as well. If it's gonna work, I don't know, honestly. I watched a bit of ENCE like since Sunny got started in game leading. I never felt like in-game leading was their problem in the first place. So I don't know if it didn't really seem like a lot has changed between Alu in game leading and Sunny in game leading. So it's like hard to say for me whether he is a good in-game leader or not, just because it didn't seem to make a massive of a difference.
Sure. Okay.
Big gamble though, and another thing that I just have to mention is like, what the fuck are GODSENT actually doing then? Like, why are you kicking your fucking in-game leader to play with absolutely anyone if you're not sure? Like, obviously this Sunny thing, maybe it was planned, but do you think this was planned when they kicked Crystal? I kind of feel it's not a thing. Then why would they trial Emmy, and why did they say he was a trial? Because that then that takes time out of his day and out of his year where he could maybe trial for some other team and get some other opportunity. So I don't think he would be there if they just knew he would be playing with someone else.
Yeah.
Maybe he would, but who knows?
I think it just shows the discontent that they had with Crystal. That's basically it to me.
Okay. Yeah, I think the same. And I think then the same is said for Sunny with the situation he's in now. So maybe it's just a lucky pairing with all of that. Maybe it'll all work out for them. I'm not sure if it's what they need. I haven't seen enough from Sunny recently to really sell me on him being able to frag like he used to or be an in-game leader that this team needs. And I think that GODSENT,
like fragging wise, he would. I mean, I'm imagining that he goes back to like a decent showing, because it's like towards the beginning with Ents he was okay. But yeah, who knows?
He doesn't fit in the Crystal roles though. He's not an entry running guy.
Actually, he kind of does want an entry, Sunny.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things where if they're looking to mix things up a little bit more, like I guess they can't. They picked up Farley, right? You would want to keep Stiko and Maiden, like you would want to keep those two right there. Zen's obviously a pretty handy member of that team too. So I don't know. I guess we'll just keep this one as another wait and see. Let's talk about this HAVU situation, because you guys were just talking about it a moment ago. Ariel has joined them now.
The team is finalized now, right? They have a full team.
Yeah, just I don't think they played a match, so their thing's not updated on your site. Like
let's see.
Oh, he's just not in the team, added to the team.
Yeah.
Someone is slacking.
So apparently I saw that they're going to have Slowy be the in-game leader. So X7 and Ariel, obviously, of the Ants days, Zori, and would they do this? Do the Finns say Y instead of J as well? Are they?
I think it's Yampi, right? So it's Yemi.
Yeah, so it's Yemi. Okay, so that's the HAVU roster. Now, obviously, they just lost their in-game leader. That was Saw. He's now the coach of Ants, and they lost Doto as well. But this team right here, I think you would argue, considering the bullshit that's going on at Ents, are probably the best finished team. Like, how ridiculous is that? Ents just imploded. Like, they did all this hard work, and now it's Alu, Doto, Yampi, and is that Sadix guy in, or is he just a stand-in?
I think he was just a stand-in. So
they have 3 players. I guess Saw could play again. There's no reason he couldn't just go from the coach role and fucking play again and be the in-game leader of the team.
Not going to be much of a solution, though, is it?
No, it just feels like this is great for HAVU. Maybe what they should do is just keep collecting. Like, say, listen, Sergey.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine Sergey comes back, man.
Just go, Sergey, we know that you wanted to go to that military service. We know that that's what you wanted to do for the better part of a year or whatever the fuck. Just
maybe he does like a 6-month thing and then in HAVU.
Yeah, and then like and at this point, HAVU can, probably just move on with it. Don't have any of the old generation. Just go with the new boys. And away we go. Maybe they'll be all right. But I don't feel we need to get stuck too much into HAVU. It feels like they've been fucked by the Ents situation as much as Ents have been fucked by the Ents situation. So hopefully things start looking better for HAVU, and hopefully Ents can go to counseling and sort their dramas out. And now the final piece of this is the fact that the Gen.G roster, which is Bentek, Kusta, and Automatic, the final 3, because Daps and Som went to Valorant. Those 3, as well as the coach, I believe, Elmer Putty, have been they to be transferred, right? They've been put on the transfer list. And I think this news here, the bit that got me, and apparently the report was false. I don't know if you kept up with this, Prof, but apparently there was like a rumor going around that Gen.G were going to pick up Taco's new unit.
Yeah, that turned out to be not real.
Okay,
so
well, that lineup seemed all right. That lineup, like the Taco Phelps, was it Dumal, Lato, and Barton? Holy shit, my memory is good. That was the team. I was like, that doesn't seem too bad. Like, I reckon we could probably make something work out of those boys for the Brazilian team. But let's focus just in on what this means for the likes of Kusta, Automatic, and Benta. Do you think all of them will be able to find homes, or do you think some might struggle more than others?
I think that Kusta is a bit of a hard sell. Just based on generally, I don't think he's actually been that bad. I just think based on his I guess, lack of specialty. Like he's just versatile, so he's just going to be like a filler player for somebody, and not like a key player that you're going to want to like sign for like a replacement for like a star player or something like that. So he's going to have a hard time, unless it's going to be like a new team. He's going to have a hard time getting offers, I think, especially because I imagine North American teams aren't really up to change too much. And European teams have just like a completely different pool of players to choose from, right? So it's probably unlikely that a European team goes to Kusta to get him. So it's probably going to have to be like a new team, potentially like automatic if he wants to put something together elsewhere or something like that, maybe with him. And they just, whatever, pick up the pieces that are left onto the scene, right? And that's how he gets a spot. But Bented, I don't see why not. Automatic, I don't see why not. I think they both have a lot of potential still. I honestly don't know. I have no idea what he's like as a coach. I've never talked to him.
Sure. So I guess the ramifications for the players have kind of been covered there, Prof. Now the ramifications for the organization, do you think this is part of that flashpoint with the rule set if you get fined if you don't have the teams, was it in the top 20?
Yeah, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Well,
Okay.
I don't know. Striker, do you know? Was that
they
mentioned?
put that on hold in first season? I don't know if anything's happened to it since then, but
Yeah,
I
it
know
was like
that it was put on
COVID and
hold.
all of this, which is understandable, I guess. But I don't know if it's coming back. Like, I don't think they mentioned it coming back soon. Maybe I missed it, so I can't really say. I don't think that's the reason, because if they don't have a team, then that's also like penalized, right? So I don't think that's going to change anything. I honestly don't know what these teams are doing, like NV, Contact, Gen.G, like what the, like Gen.G has a good core in that, so I don't see the reason why you just like let like start from a blank slate. I think it's a decent core to start with, and then you have NV, which has just been god awful forever. I don't know what they intended to do with this like Legia playing.
They said
lineup.
that they had like the biggest budget for that for the team since like whatever, God knows when, for the next, I think it was for the next year, like that comment from Hastro. But
I have no idea. And then Contact did have like a, I don't know where you really go or start with that team. Let's be honest, like they didn't really release the team. They said like they're open to offers. So maybe this is kind of a thing that they do like in League of Legends every season. At the end of the season, like everyone's open to offers, and then maybe someone goes, someone stays, and then after some talks they realize, okay, we'll keep these two guys and build around them and do something like that.
Well, one of the things that I read, and once again, like this is me just trawling the news section of Reddit and like reading the HLTV.org forums because I'm mentally damaged apparently. And I'm just like, I read something, someone suggesting that apparently Vanity and Zeppa were offered to join Gen.G before that team got full.
That was confirmed by Vanity in like an interview.
Okay, so I'm not just losing my mind. It was definitely.
And then 2 days later, it was on HLTV that Gen.G is like taking offers for all of the players. So
and now Vanity's playing Valorant every day.
Valorant.
So yeah, like it sucks. Like the whole chaos situation is a little bit of a shame. But 1 minute ago, DK just released an article saying jkaem set to reunite with Azaleas and Gratisfaction. Did I get to it first? Am I the source? I don't know.
Did he mention you? No mention in the article.
I don't click on. I only read headlines, Prof. You know that.
Fuck you.
I just read the headlines. All right, we've been spending
so much work goes to waste every day, man. That's so bad. Not even the hardcore fans, SPUNJ.
No, that's not true.
Fucking news.
It's not true. I was just reading the article that Lucas put out moments ago about the Katowice invites. But we need to take a quick break because Lucas, am I right, Lucas? We got to take a quick break. All right, we're taking a quick break and we'll be back with IEM Global Challenge. All right, we're back. We're going to get stuck into the Global Challenge now. If you guys missed it, the Global Challenge started last Tuesday, and it concluded on the Sunday, which was yesterday, with the best-of-5 grand final between Astralis and Liquid. Now, quite a funny fact was, I think, in the end of 2019, it was the Udensa finals. The Astralis... No, it was Bahrain.
Blast
Yeah,
Global.
which was Astralis vs Liquid, and then the year before that was Udansa, which was Astralis vs Liquid. So it was kind of strange to see that as a matchup again, considering Liquid were region locked all year. But I think if we just focus in on Astralis here, grabbing the #1 spot as per the HLTV.org World Rankings for the end of the year, just off of that last event, the teams
For the
that
third
they beat,
consecutive year as well, by the way.
that's crazy.
Third, fourth.
2018, 19,
16.
20. Oh,
well,
but that's not consecutive.
Was it not in 2017? It was in 17.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't know. I got no idea. I just.
I'll check. Just thinking, but I think they didn't.
I'll regurgitate what you guys say. So I hope that's when I read your articles, so I can steal your opinions.
No, they were actually
say it on air. Okay, so that's 5 years consecutively.
No.
15,
Okay,
17,
no.
18,
They weren't. I missed. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So just 3 years consecutively, and in 2016.
Yeah,
but anyway, this event, Global Challenge that just happened. In terms of the way that the playoff bracket played out, I think we kind of got fucked because of the way that the groups played out. And just so people understand what I mean, we had Big, Astralis, and Vitality all in one group, and Complexity with the stand-in. So Complexity kind of became a non-issue straight away. But the fact that Big did beat Vitality and Astralis kind of fucked it all up. It meant that we couldn't have an Astralis Vitality final. It means that they had to play off in that elimination match. And Astralis actually got the better of them there. And look, I think that kind of a victory, to be able to beat the likes of Vitality, who throughout this year have been the most consistent team, I think you could probably make the argument for, and we will later. And then NAVI as well, another one of these top dogs. They beat the hardest teams in the tournament, wouldn't you say, Prof?
Astralis, are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big loss, right? Initially, that was to Vitality, and then everything that happened. But Astralis did beat everyone that was in front of them. It was a classic Astralis victory, and the grand final was lame. Unfortunately, like some of the group stage matches, I'd say were better. The Vitality Astralis one was a pretty good one of them. Even the big games were pretty good, but the grand final kind of underwhelming, of course. But yeah, it's just Astralis coming in form at the end with like 2 wins and a second place out of 3 tournaments, right?
With this striker, them pulling off this nice close to the year, what do you think are the biggest factors to them getting back to that form? Like, are there any like role changes or like the ups and downs, obviously, with all these players, or was there any like catalyst and map changes or anything that you think helped them get back to this position?
I think it was just plain old Astralis, like coming up with, I think it was mostly like adapting to the online meta for them, just because they definitely didn't play the same style that they played like this time last year, or even at the start of the year, where they were still very, very heavy on the numbers and stuff like that. They took a lot more risks, I feel like, recently. Or maybe like, I guess calculated risks that they brought into their game, changed up. Like I was bringing this up last time on Inferno. Like there were some moves that they were making that they would never make like half a year ago or like a year ago, when they still played their old style. It's still the same old Astralis, kind of. They still play like the smart brand of CS and stuff like that, but they just have these little moves that they didn't do before that I feel like have helped them be a little bit more unpredictable and just like keeping their opponents on their toes. That's the only thing that I have been keeping my eye on. Like the role swaps, I don't know. I don't think the Bubsky edition on Nuke has really changed much. They've just been kind of like up and down on it. So I don't really feel like it's made a massive difference. And I don't think they made, I don't know about you, I don't think they made any big map pool changes other than that.
They've obviously been leaning away from Nuke. Well, not leaning away from it. They haven't been picking it because they've been looking shit on it. But I think that they've definitely had to become more scrimmy, right? When we get back to LAN, I'm not sure if we're going to fully adjust back to how regimented we were previously, but you can see that there's a lot more flair in the way that people are playing in this online era, and it's obviously needed because most players now at the top level of Counter-Strike understand what the right play is. Now it's about understanding what the right play that somebody is going to make against you while you're making the right play is, and how do you counter that before you can, like it's trying to think multiple. Oh, I just hit my mic. Sorry, everybody. It's just trying to make it so that you have all of those things. Like somebody like Sirius and that Dust 2 long clutch. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was a long plant. I think it was a 1-on-1 situation. The bomb's planted for him. He has an AWP. Dust 2. I think Megas takes the site. and has a smoke left over late round. And Sirison, instead of like playing the plant, is actually lurking up in like a crossover smoke close. He walks up into the site and knifes Magus in his own smoke. Like the AWPer should be playing passive. Like the percentage play would be the AWPer playing passive, trying to just kill the guy defusing the bomb, because you wouldn't expect to have a smoke that late, but he's doing those kind of plays, right? And that's obviously a counter to the smoke diffusers. This is just a little microcosm of what I'm talking about here, guys. But these
that's
things,
a great example, though.
Yeah, and I think that these things here mean that there has to be more flair and a little bit more randomness within the systems that everybody have. And Astralis obviously had to adjust that. I think another thing I noted was Device was doing more aggressive rifling on the T side, like pushing in and taking a lot more duels than just being the AWPer holding the line while the rest of his team does it, because he's a fantastic rifler as well. And they kind of needed his firepower in certain games or maps or whatever. So I like when I answered that question a second ago, Striker, I was kind of loaded, because I was thinking that for me, a clear change of when Astralis felt like they were getting their act back together. Not only was glaive and ZipX coming back, I think even when Esatag was there and glaive was there, things were good. But I think more importantly, it's glaive taking back over the in-game leadership role, because I felt like we were getting more out of Magus. Now, I need to check the stats to see if that's backed up, but I felt like when Magus wasn't calling anymore, we were getting better performances out of him. I know he had a couple of quiet games just the other day, so that might be skewing what I remember, but I felt he was just more focused. Prof, you got anything overall with the Astralis
if you're talking about players, dupreeh has been a standout for me. Like he's been up there with Device often, not like every map, not the same consistency, but not the same roles either. And I think like if anyone expects dupreeh,
oh, excuse me, sorry.
Wow, this is so fun. For some reason it was. I mean, you can't expect the dupreeh to put out the same numbers and same consistency as an AWPer, especially an AWPer of a style of Device that is pretty safe and works well inside of a system. But dupreeh has had some like banger fucking games in the last couple of tournaments. I think that's like a big factor, definitely.
Okay. I don't have COVID, everyone. I swear I just tested yesterday. Okay, so let's grab that dupreeh, the glaive, all the points we were just talking about there, and let's just focus on Liquid, because I don't think there's a lot to say about Global Challenge, guys, in terms of the Counter-Strike. In terms of the event, I'll probably quickly say something before we close out the topic, but let's just talk about Liquid. Liquid had been in North America competing. I think their first official game was on the 26th of November at the Blast Showdown, where they lost to Furia to progress, I think. But that's where they started their campaign, and then they played in the DreamHack event that followed that, and they had two tough opponents. They had Astralis and Mousesport, so no easy time there. And then here in the Global Challenge, they had a very good showing. You make it to the grand final. That's a good showing. You beat Big, who took down Vitality and Astralis, right? You kind of have to give them merit there. But I'm gonna put a dampener on that still a little bit. I was impressed with Liquid, and I think that they played better Counter-Strike than I was originally going to give them credit for such a short stint in Europe. But I think like that big game was all Elige. Like Inferno was like a 16-11 scoreline, and Elige had impact in so many rounds. Like just so many rounds he was getting multi kills. I think he had 12 in total in that game. And like it was on low buys, it was during the forced buy wars where Big, they already had their backs against the wall. Like, I think Elige on that Inferno game was everything. And then Nuke, they just get across the line. And I think like Big probably let the moment get to them. They're not as experienced in those situations as the core of Liquid. Even with all their online matches this year, Liquid would be able to keep their cool calmer because of, you know, the previous experience that they've had. Is this enough of a showing right here for you, Prof, that Liquid is able to compete with the big boys on a consistent basis, or is there still more work to be done?
I don't know. Like I think I am on a similar level. Like I wasn't super impressed, but even just having Elige on that level, I think, is what they need, because as Striker mentioned before as well, Elige wasn't really delivering that much in the initial two tournaments, not to the level that we expect from Elige. So just seeing him back, I think that's a good sign, and that's something like Liquid can build on.
Striker, this just to you. Moses has obviously been the coach for a short period of time now, but I saw SEO tweeting out some stats saying that the fundamentals of Liquid was on the rise. Do you think that's, from what you saw, did that feel like that was part of their game? The fundamentals were better, or did it look like the same Liquid that you remember from old?
I didn't see many like big changes, to be honest. Like sure, like from old, like obviously there's player changes, so it obviously looked different from that aspect. But other than that, I feel like it was kind of like the same Liquid that we are used to. I don't know if it was. I don't know if I'd put it down to. I mean, obviously the Legion that game was pretty big. I don't think they would have ever gotten past big if it wasn't for him. So that's definitely all the way up to him. The rest of it, I didn't think I saw the too many group stage maps from them, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they played heroic and they finally beat Furia, right? And those were the Furia win is probably the most important win, I would say, for Liquid at this event, is the fact that they can do it, because just look at the stat lines and head to head, it is pretty miserable. I'm still not sold on this whole Stewie and NAF sharing the AWPing thing, and hopefully that's fixed if this FalleN rumor is true. And then they can AWP on the CT side, but I don't want to see either of them really picking up on the T side, right? It's not that I know NAF was getting those wall bangs and he was looking filthy, and it was like NAF actually had a very good tournament. I think statistically speaking, but I just feel like maybe NAF would be the guy that maybe this is the problem I have. Like Stewie and NAF aren't the same type of person. Like Stewie's much louder, but they almost do the same level of audacious plays, but at different points. Like NAF will do like crazy shit mid round when the team needs like a clutch. He'll push in through a smoke that you wouldn't expect to get 4 kills and win a round. Stewie will do that at the start of the round. I would prefer to have NAF doing those kind of things than probably Stewie, but we know that Stewie's there for the entry stuff. I don't know. I think that, like we talked about before, this whole situation with Liquid and what it meant for them in the global challenge, I don't want to wipe it clean, but I'm gonna put less stock in it than I would have if this was still their roster, if it was still Twistzz and they were going for it. But now it's just like, okay, well, now I don't give a fuck, because you're gonna have to start again. Like, you're gonna have to bring FalleN in. We already spoke about it. We don't know how he's gonna be integrated. We don't know what level he's gonna be playing. We don't know what level the team is gonna be playing. We don't know what style the team is gonna be playing. So anyway, Liquid, a good way to finish the year, but all in all, who the fuck knows what 2021 is gonna look like.
Just to add on to the AWPing point, I feel like Stewie is just not, or they're not even approaching the AWP as like a normal team would, where you have it like a stable AWP, you kind of play around it and stuff like that. Basically, like the way they play it is Stewie just takes it whenever like he feels like he has an angle to take, especially on the T side. I mean, like he even took it like to apps on Inferno against Astralis and stuff like that. He will just use it situationally, not really have any setups around him, just like try to go for a pick alone. Maybe with like a pop flash coming in from a teammate or anything. They definitely haven't really like played around it too much. Like they don't really have it in their repertoire to have the AWP all the time and play with it. So I just feel like that's something that they have to fix with the new edition, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that the stuff that you're talking about there is nice as like an addition, but you need to have your base, right? We know that the fundamental teams, once we get back to LAN, are the ones who are going to be the most sound, right? The ones who have the best base, right? Anyway, just on that event as a whole, I know obviously from working on ESL events all year that there were quite a few complaints with the lead up when we had all that big stretch of events in a row, and there was a lot of shit that was wrong. And you guys know me, I was even on here complaining about the Twitch ads, complaining about the cameras being missed and all that kind of stuff. But after all of that negative stuff, ESL was basically, I worked a lot with them. I know Alex was contributing as well, Machine, and we had other people, and kind of changed a lot of things of how we approach the shows. And even though we couldn't do the show in the same way that we were hoping to, which would have been in the studio with me, Yanko, and Alex, I think it would have been a lot of fun. We would have done the whole TriCast thing. Obviously, that was the plan. That didn't happen. So kind of a bit of a dampener from my perspective on everything. But watching the show from home, because I worked less games, which meant I watched more games from a broadcast perspective, it felt like they plugged a lot of the things that the people were complaining about. And I think overall, this is probably something for a discussion we can have during the 2020 part. But I think that like the competition that Blast, Flashpoint, ESL all at the moment are kind of, everybody's doing cool elements that are different things. I think it's actually good to see that we're seeing people innovating in different ways. And I hope that everybody going forward into next year can continue to do the same, because the only people that win the viewers, right? We give you more content. You get to see different things, and hopefully it can be more and more entertaining until we have something that's refined enough that we can share with the whole world if they want to watch. let's move into this whole 2020 rewind situation. So, guys, I know that we're already an hour and 10 minutes into the show, but it has been quite a long year, right? We've had patches of uncertainty throughout. We've kind of all been riding, by the seat of our pants here, not quite certain when things were going to change. We've projected a couple of times on this show if and when we think things were going to change, if we were going to go back to LAN. But all in all, I just think that, and this is probably me looking at things through rose-colored glasses in a way, but I think the general level of Counter-Strike throughout 2020 has been pretty high, I think. And I think that teams have actually been continuing to work and grind hard almost out of necessity due to all these events. And we've been able to have teams who maybe were lacking behind previously catch up because of all this Counter-Strike. And I think we might even have, even though it is online and things will change when we do go back to LAN, of course, but maybe some of the most competitive Counter-Strike year round that we've ever had. Striker, is that sounding like a bit of an off critique, or do you think there's any merit to that? You can say I'm wrong.
No, I think we're pretty much right. I'm not entirely sure whether it's down to us going online or not, because it's always going to be a factor, right? You just don't know how much, like, certain teams are more comfortable, certain teams are going to be okay with that. Like we saw the rise of Big and Heroic, who are probably the biggest examples of that. We don't know if that would have happened if we stayed on LAN, right? That's just like a couple of teams that probably took advantage of that to a certain degree. But good for them, right? Because they clearly worked for it. Big have always been like some of the hardest workers in CS:GO, and Heroic, from what Katie was talking to us I don't know when that was, a couple of months ago or like a month ago. They also like really wanted to take advantage of the fact that like start early, start practicing way ahead of the others during the break that we had in summer, and they took advantage of that as well. So I feel like that's partly coming down to us going online. Some of these teams are probably going to get an advantage, while some of these other teams, Fnatic probably the biggest example, not really being in their biggest comfort zone, just because they can't really draw on the experience that they have on LAN and stuff like that. So there's always going to be those factors to it. But I think you're right that it's not like any of these teams played like a bad brand of CS or anything. It's just it hasn't been like a random style that has been created over the past over the past 9 months or whatever. It's just shifted a little bit towards like a more screamy style, I guess.
More risk,
but not
sure.
to but not to like a degree where you feel like everything is in chaos. It's just like some of these little moves that teams have brought into their gameplay that are a little bit more random that they otherwise would be.
Yeah, not like North American CS where that just went down the fucking shitter. Like, it got so scrimmy over there. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, excuse me.
Prof. To add, like, if I may,
go for it.
One of the things that also I think helped in Europe is just the diversity of teams that actually played the top tournaments. Because if we go back, like, even last year, you have LANs mostly 8 to 16, 12, 16 teams. And what happens is like 9 or 10 of those are literally invited off of the top rankings, which are like the top 10, 15 teams in the rankings. And you don't really have a big overturn of new teams coming in. And with that happening, it's hard for the top teams to prepare for everyone because you're playing new teams all the time. I mean, you're also playing old teams because you're playing a lot. So you're playing like NIPS Vitality like 8 times in 2 months. But you're also playing new teams that can upset you, that can make deeper runs, that can break through like Heroic did, coming out of like the top 20-ish in the world and then just making a run, right? So yeah, I think that also helped. That's something that people didn't really talk about, because when you split EU and NA into two like different tournaments, and there's more room in Europe to invite more teams, and you expand some of these tournaments to have more teams because you want more matches, more everything. You also just like you just shorten the skill gap because you play with new teams, you learn more, and that's just, I think that also helped make this year so competitive, also unstable. So some good, some bad to some degree, but yeah, I think that was helped these like lower tier teams, like top 30-ish teams, to break through.
Yeah, and I think we're going to touch more on some of those names and those teams as we go through. So the plan now is as we go into the 2020 rewind section of the show, is just to kind of talk through either some of the highlights or the lowlights or the biggest names, right? And the first topic we have here is the best team of 2020, and the three names that we've thrown in the hat, and I think the three that you could make the most arguments for is Vitality, NAVI, and Astralis. Now, quick little surmise here, I suppose. Astralis started the year as the best team in the world. They finished the year as the best team in the world. They had all the bullshit go on in the middle with all the other players, and yet they still managed to win. I think it was four tier one.
Tournaments, yeah.
Yeah. And then you had obviously Vitality.
That's the most out of everybody, just them two.
So they still won the most trophies, even though they had the
yeah.
bullshit in the middle of the year. That's crazy. And they also made some of the best decisions when we can look back on like burnout and stuff, right? Maybe they didn't make the best decisions in the players that they picked up, but I guess that's to do with who disappeared and when from their roster. And they made smart choices like around RMR events. They weren't signing up to lose because they knew they would lose points. And I think a lot of that stuff they did was from a good position, a very tactical like Astralis traditionally is. Navi obviously won Katowice, which if you're going to look at which event probably matters the most in the entire year, you would have to say Katowice because it was the LAN event, right? Whereas everything else was online. And not only that, NAVI gave Astralis their worst series loss ever, right? I'm pretty sure it's 16-5, 16-5 or 16-5, 16-6, something like that.
It was really one-sided.
Yeah, so that there, and then how Navi ended the year, I think they were starting to get their shit back together. They also had a middle of the year patch where it was like, oh, we're not winning our RMR events, and we're looking a bit sloppy against these teams that we should be beating. And then Boomich, Flamey, and Perfector had to stay at the boot camp longer, while Simple and Electronic got let out of jail, because they were obviously on good behavior. So Navi had like a good year, but I think Katowice has to be their star on top of the Christmas tree, right? Like that one right there, that would be how you would seal your argument for Navi being the best team. You'd have to build up all the other bullshit first, but you just go, well, they won Katowice, so fuck all you, right? Like that's probably how you would try and win that argument. And then Vitality were in the most grand finals. I think it was 7, and they won 2, I think.
Yeah, lost 5, right?
Yeah. So, but they were the most consistent team. And I think that Vitality, in my mind, had the most work to do out of the other two names. Like, I know Perfecto had kind of just joined Na'Vi, but Apeks had to take over in-game leading. Alex left. They brought in a fucking rookie of Masuda, and then they even made this 6-man roster bullshit work before anybody else could. So there's a real debate here. I don't know where did I miss anything, Prof? Is there anything that you'd throw in for these teams?
I don't know. I didn't really listen. I was looking on Twitter about this Stewie thing because people are typing in chat that Stewie left Liquid when
he's
he
renewing
just made
his
a joke.
contract.
He extended for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what you're like. My kind of idea is maybe that we debate this, like everyone picks one team, and then we kind of go back and forth. Like, do you think there is a debate to be had around these 3 teams?
I think the thing is we've kind of done the synopsis of what the angle is for every team, but I'm just going to add on to what you were talking about with Vitality. It has to be said that something that detracts from them, apart from like obviously them not winning enough of the grand finals they were in, because 2 out of 7 is not very high, right? But also the start of the year was pretty bad from them. Like before Alex left, they had a really bad start at the spring series. They went out in the groups. Then Katowice went out in the groups, and I think Pro League was also in that. Like the when we went online, I think Pro League they also went out fairly early, and so like they only started coming alive in like June, and in the last 7 months or so when they were, I think, pretty obviously the most consistent team, but didn't really have enough like the most wins in the end. I feel like if they grabbed this global challenge title, the conversation would have been a little bit different. I feel like I would have been pretty confident in saying that they are the team of the year, but I think with Astralis winning global challenge at the end and having this run towards the end, it just puts things very, very close to one another.
So I guess, Prof, if you wanted to like have a debate about if we're all to pick a team, what would be the criteria that we're trying to hit here? Like saying that the team of 2020 is pretty broad, right? Like we mean the best team, like the most accomplished team would be Astralis, right? So how do we frame this?
I guess that is always the discussion, is like, how much do you value the LAN that Navi won versus all of the other tournaments that were online? How much do you value like placing second? How much do you value being like consistently in the top 3, top 5, top 10, top 8, whatever? That's the discussion, right? That is more or less, everyone can look at the results and then add up like, oh, this guy has 5 grand finals, this guy has like 5 championship, this guy has 2. But CS is more complicated than that, because no tournament is the same. We don't have like 4 grand slams and then everything else is like a different standard. Like, this is, everything is completely different. And one of the things that also comes into calculation is Katowice was the most stacked event we had in like years. So, and it was a LAN, so that has to be worth more than, let's say, Cologne that was online in Europe, or either of the pro leagues. But for me, it's really hard to balance that. And then also, like, without looking at the tournaments, my initial reaction would be Vitality as the best team of the year, because your brain kind of remembers the recent stuff,
Recency
and then
bias,
it's recency bias. You don't really think about at the beginning of the year. They had Alex, didn't do well, and then it took them 4 or 5 months to even get there. And then they had those 3 grand finals, lost all of them. So yeah, it's that is the discussion.
But the Vitality had 2 before the player break, right? They had Blast against Complexity that they lost, and they had CS Summit 6 versus Big that they lost. And those were kind of both just before the player break, if I remember rightly, right? CS Summit 6 was the last one because it was the RMR event, and Blast was just before that. So yeah, there was that lull period. But this is where, like, you can look at the other side of this. Is like, okay, so Navi just winning this event, and then I think that the fashion in which they beat Astralis cannot be forgotten, right? Like, even if it was just a bad day for Astralis, it's not just a bad day for Astralis, it's the worst day for Astralis ever, right? And it, like, sure, there's an opportunity they all wake up and they have a shit day. Yeah, that's possible. We all wake up and we have a shit day. But it's also very possible that Navi woke up and they had one of their absolute best days ever, and clearly had a fucking dominant event when we all remember that grand final. But that feels like ancient history. But the Navi that I think of who were getting towards the tail end of the year, obviously they brought in Bit, they were using him on Inferno. Perfecto, obviously the stats, once again, you'd have to go, and it doesn't look like he's performing that much better, but I think there was games where his impact was felt a lot more in these recent couple than maybe in the middle patch. Simple had some ups and downs. Electronic was probably flat for a big chunk of the year, actually. I think, like, out of all these teams, like, other than Fnatic, I would say Navi were one of the ones that suffered the most from the transition from LAN to online. So it's like, well, what could have been? But then we're not operating in the realms of what could have been. We're operating in the realms of what happened. And personally, for me, if I had to pick, like, it wouldn't be like the best, like the most accomplished team. Astralis would win that. They got the most trophies. But for me, I think the team that did the most, in my opinion, in 2020 was Vitality, right? And the reason I say that is all these factors. I did not believe for probably the first 4 or 5 months that Apeks had any business being the in-game leader of that team. I was like, I know this guy's emotional. He's a hyper-aggressive player. He takes a lot of risks, right? Those are all true statements. They were all very true statements. Not only has he turned,
and they are still.
Yeah, but not only, but he's turned them into some of the strengths. Now, I'm sure him, being hyper emotional while they're playing in grand finals, it has its pros and its cons. We all know that. Him being risky in the way that he calls, same deal. But I think that definitely shifted and changed, and I think the coach has a lot to do with this, right? Navira coming in on Inferno for the CT side of Vitality was probably one of the best changes of a player position that I had seen in a very, very long time. It made the most sense. You're not only that, though, they were taking out a star name like Shocks of the team, and then they went on a 9-0 streak on that map. Navira was undefeated on that until Astralis beat them 16-5 on that game, and that was in that match against Astralis for the decider game. And that was the first time they had lost it with Navira in the team. I think Masuta, they had to nurture this rookie into the team, and in the beginning, we weren't sold. He went 0-18 versus Spirit on Dust 2. Holy shit, my memory is so good. What the fuck? I'm going to give myself a pay rise. And like, I remember all these things, and I wasn't sold on him, and I thought they had to baby him and stuff. And then towards the end of the year, he's been looking really good, like a solid player. Shocks has been looking, like a better player than I've seen in a long time, like on a consistent level, it feels like. RPK contributing all the time. I think the fact that they were in 7 grand finals, and sure they only won 2, but I think everything that they had to overcome and their consistency in a year where most people were fucking off because they were burnt out, they continued to battle through. They didn't shy away from any tournament, and they were consistently making deep runs. If you come in and you win the first tournament of the year and you win the last tournament of the year, okay, you were good at the start and the end, but you weren't good throughout the entire year. Whereas Vitality were good for the most amount of the year in my mind. So if I had to pick one, it would be Vitality. Did you pick one, Striker? You were leaning in that same direction, weren't you?
I definitely liked. I even said it before Global Challenge. I think it's changed a little bit with Global Challenge. I feel like that match between Astralis and Vitality might have decided like who's number one this year, because that was also like one of the biggest tournaments that we had all year. It was like 7 out of 8 top 10 teams or something like that, right? Or 7 out of the top 8, and then the last one was also top 10. I don't remember exactly. And so it's also a really big tournament to win, and for Vitality to go out in groups while Astralis win it, this is like something that kind of swings it back towards Astralis. Like that end to the year has just been pretty dominant from them, and that's kind of making me sway there. But I feel like what you're saying is also like has a lot of merit, just because like the last 7 months. If it was just the last 7 months, it was definitely Vitality. I don't think there's any question about that. But it's just not.
Okay, so you're on Astralis. I think Vitality. Prof, who did you land on?
I was between Astralis and Vitality. I mean, mentally, even when I look at the tournaments, I see Astralis has maybe better results, but I can't put that together with what my brain has in right now. So I'll just leave the experts to decide. For me, it's definitely not NAVI. One of the reasons, like, I don't really give that much more, I don't know, prestige to winning Katowice than all of these other tournaments.
Okay.
The reason being, yeah, it was on LAN, but all of these other tournaments weren't on LAN because they couldn't be on LAN. So it's not like people picked and play some online tournaments and then like had the opportunity to play online. Like no one had the opportunity anymore. So just because Navi maybe just tended to be good at the beginning when no one else was, doesn't really justify them being the number one team for the whole year, or even close to that for me.
I mean, I would say that it's relatively close, and with that in mind, just because I don't think people realize that Navi have also been pretty damn consistent all year. It's just like their problem was that they were in the CIS region for like 3 tournaments, because the RMR tournaments, which were relatively big in Europe, were obviously not available to Navi, so they couldn't play against the best teams. And I think that's probably detracted from them a lot. If they played in those, things might have looked a little bit different. But other than that, they have like literally all of their placings are like top 4, apart from Cologne. And then I think one of the Rotorios where they went out, like the CIS Rotorio one, where they went out in groups. And that's it. Essentially, like those are the 2 only bomb outs that they had all year. The rest of them was deep runs. Obviously, they didn't win much apart from Katowice. But they actually didn't win anything apart from the Clutch Island, another RMR event, right?
Yes.
But in general, they were also very, very consistent all year, which I feel like people kind of overlook, possibly just because they were never all the way at the top. You know, they were never dominant. So I feel like there's
Navi also. Yeah, sorry. Never fell out of the top 8. I think 8 was the lowest that they had in this whole year.
Navi?
So yeah.
I guess this right. Like leaves the door for debate, right? Because everybody's gonna like pick their favorites and justify things from different angles. I think if we do it in the black and white fashion, we have to say Astralis, they won the most trophies. I think, you know, if you were to say, you can, here's the game. You guys at home, you can set whoever you want as the best team in 2020, because I think it's going to be very, very difficult for anybody to have a debate where you would settle on one. And you've just listened to us talk around in circles for about 15 minutes on this one topic, presenting different sides, different arguments, and different reasons of why it could be one of these 3 very, very good teams. But I think what you said at the start, Prof, of the show, about the fact that we do have these 3, you know, we got the Symbol fans, we've got the ZywOo fans, and then we've got Astralis, the greatest team to ever fucking do it fans. That is kind of a very, very cool top 3. And I think that we've been very blessed with the type of Counter-Strike that we've had. And the fact that now going into next year, if we do get back to LAN and the teams like Heroic, Furia, Big, those three I think are the ones we should name who have had good online performances, can continue to do that on LAN and push and pressure. You've got G2, obviously. I think they're going to make leaps and bounds of improvement the longer that Nico's there. Mouse Sports looking threatening. Liquid showed some good signs. Virtus Pro on the rise. Like, I think we're going to have quite the competitive era of Counter-Strike going forward. Hopefully, right? So let's leave this one there because I think we could spend forever on this. Let's go into the next little subheading, which is to do with breakout players and potential top 20 rookies of the year. So this is one that now you guys can tell me if these didn't fit into the category. But while we were doing some of the editorial work for ESL, we did that like 2020 show that we pre-recorded that actually aired at the same time as you guys doing the Alu thing. You guys smashed out in terms of viewership. So there's you know.
Actually, I didn't watch.
I would say so. There was probably only about 1,900 people watching our rewind thing because it was or recapture, I think we called it.
Was it really like I didn't even know it? Like you told me it was happening, but I didn't know it was happening until it happened. Like there was no promotion for it. I feel
so. This is what happened, right? We all, me, Yanko, and Machine all found out that we might have COVID because we were briefly around Trace. So that was on the Thursday, and then on the Friday was the day that we were all meant to go into the studio to pre-record it, the four of us, the recaptured show, and actually then we were meant to do more promo and stuff, but because we fucking ended up having to do it from our hotel rooms, and the fact that we were quarantined, and the fact that we were all anxious that we might be, having COVID, it kind of killed a lot of it, which sucks because I think the amount of work that the people who worked on it from ESL collecting clips and building the storylines and building the year arc and stuff, we did a lot of stuff there. We just couldn't execute it the way we wanted to, and obviously execution is the main thing. But there was one of these editorial pieces we had in there where we were discussing like breakout players of the year, or like rookies, right? And I was helping. It was like me and Essia, I think, were the ones talking about them. Not all of these names are necessarily just like rookies of the year, but like having big performances this year for their teams while competing in top teams. And I think it was something like Mantu, Yakinda, Brokey, fuck, there's someone else who I'm forgetting here. There was two more. I think we included Stown, but like I think it's just because Heroic had the breakout year. Like Stown has obviously been quite legit for a couple. Like he was decent last year, and obviously before that he was in like the Heroic and the Fragsters and all that kind of stuff. There's one more fucking name.
Thurston, probably.
I don't know. He made it into our mix, but I don't. This wasn't Sirsen's. I guess it was Sirsen's first year playing at this level of Counter-Strike, right? Like, but Masuta you could talk about, Navira you could talk about. So like, there's those like all the names who were kind of like in the region of. Which one like not and it doesn't have to be those names, but Striker, are there any names which really stuck out for you?
I mean, I'm also not going to put it in the rookies of the year necessarily, but a first top 20 appearance I think is pretty locked in, and that is Blame F.
Okay, yeah, good call.
I really like what came out of him this year because he obviously taking on in-game leadership and complexity and basically pulling this team to a relevant level. I think that's been a lot down to him, not just because of he's been great individually out, but obviously that's what counts in the end. But just his evolution into an in-game leader and stuff like that, I feel has been really big this year.
Do we think so? Like Prof, I don't know much about how the whole 2020 thing works. I'd say Striker normally helps work on it, right? I don't know how all this goes.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of the case this year. Yeah.
What are you guys doing with the whole? Because I know that a lot of people in the community have been asking this question. What are you doing with the whole North American weight versus the European weight? Right, like Alige has pretty good stats, but it's like, what do you do?
That is honestly kind of the question that me and Peter are going to have to figure out, essentially, like how the weighting is going to go. Just because obviously there's the factor of kind of padding from North American players who obviously could play against much worse teams. And this is not to fault them in any way, obviously, but it's just you have to take things as they are, which is that most of the North American region played against a lot worse teams than most of the European region, and you have to take that into consideration. So essentially, like some of these factors, like how these players played when they came into Europe, and played against the best teams have to be taken into consideration. How they played against the best teams in North America, and not against like the stat padding teams like towards the bottom and stuff like that is going to have to be taken into consideration. These things are they are going to be hard to figure out. And I feel like it is going to be to a degree to a detriment to North American players, just because it is how it is. That's what I was talking about. You just have to take things as they are. The fact is that they just didn't play against the best teams, and that's going to hurt them and in the best tournaments.
I guess it's kind of similar to the infamous Nico placing, when was that? When he finished 10th, I think,
last year,
2016-17.
Oh, he was in mouse sports,
right? When he was in mouse sports, right? So that's just like how it is looked on in the HLTV top 20. Maybe someone has different opinions on how things should work, but in that year he was amazing in the games that he played against the teams that he played, but most of it was either group stages or like early playoff games, not grand finals, not semifinals, not like winning titles, and maybe a couple of MVPs from smaller tournaments. So that stopped him that year when a lot of people thought he was maybe top 3 in the world, right? So that's a similar problem with the NA guys. This year. That's from my point of view, not saying that Peter thinks this, or because I don't really have an impact on picking the things, but I feel like that's a similar scenario, right? To look at.
Sure. I think that's pretty safe to say. Yeah, it's just in general. I mean, just to comment on how things are going to go, like it's going to be the same as usual. Like we're going to have the first 20 days of the year, and then present players one by one. There's not going to be any difference. There's not going to be a split between Europe and North America, nothing like that. Doesn't even make sense considering we had a bunch of tournaments combined, at the start of the year, obviously, and then at the end of the year we had like three, four tournaments with both regions. So it wouldn't even make sense to make it split in any way. So it's just going to be same as usual. Obviously a different scenario this year, where a lot of the competition has been region locked, but it's just that's how we're gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, how the cookie crumbles, I think is how we put that on there. So, yes. Do we think like Nork or a Brokey could like have a shot in the top 20 at all? Are those names, have they performed well enough to potentially edge their way in towards the latter end of the top 20 or the start of the top 20? Which I guess would be around the 20 guys.
And I don't know this, but I guess they would be like somewhere in the discussion. But I think on the lower end where it's more likely that they wouldn't make it. It would be my take on it anyway at this point.
Yeah, I don't think Knock is even close, honestly. I think Brokey can be like, I think this year is going to be the hardest to predict from like a fan point of view for a couple of reasons. One reason is that you don't have like a big event filter that people usually based those like predictions of top 20 players mostly on that, and then after you get to like number 12 or 13, who's going to be on the bottom. I feel like now you could literally pick like 40 players and not be sure. Like 40 players is maybe a reasonable estimation from that you have all of the top 20. I feel like that's the problem, because
I think I can say that like there's 60, I think up into like preliminaries list has like 60 names on it.
Yeah. Oh dear.
So I can safely say that.
Years before it would be around 30, right? That 30, 33 maybe players that you would consider for the top 20, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that says a lot about how difficult this year is going to be.
Yeah, because you have a lot of different top 1 teams. You have a lot of teams that competed at all of these events, right? And then people coming up and down. It's just hard when you filter maybe less maps, then you throw in all of the NA teams. You have 3-4 good NA teams, right? It's just a lot of great players.
Yeah. Do you guys feel that, like, so let's just use the Astralis guys as an example. That'd be the best example to run with. The Glaive and Apeks situation, how they had a couple of months off. Do you think that puts them out of the running? Like if you had several months off within a year because of...
I mean, I don't think their stats even put them in the running anyway.
Don't use them... because I'm not thinking.
Right. But no, I think if you played less, you can still make it. Like we had that year when Device was, I don't remember what the placing was, but when he was sick for the last month or two, so he missed like 2-3 events at the end, and he still finished like pretty high. top 5. I think he was 5th that year.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, so I don't think. I mean, it obviously affects. It's the same with like the NA situation. You don't get to play as many tournaments against as many big teams, big players, deep runs, blah blah. But it doesn't really eliminate you completely.
Okay. Well,
I guess there's like, I don't know. They're just looking at the stats just briefly. I guess there's a like, this is something that could definitely put ZywOo out of the running in the end, just because of how many players there are like similarly around him, you know, but just played a little bit more. So there's like I guess there's a decent chance of that happening to him. But in general, I feel like Glaive is probably not even close to a discussion, but it's just ZywOo kind of looks like in that area, maybe potentially.
Well, I'm just having a look at it right now. In 2020, obviously we know with all these caveats we're throwing in here, but if you were to filter 2020 top 20 and you looked at who had played the most maps, the Vitality guys against top 20 teams have played the most maps. It's like 186.
When you put on that filter, you don't even get like the Furia players, right? Or the EG players. So you need to go down and like adjust the filter for that. And then you see like, oh, there's a shit ton of pretty good players in the top 20 that like, if we're talking about the rookies, like rookie top 20, like players that are to make the top 20 for the first time. Yuri is a potentially one. I think like Blamef is the only guy I can say like he's most likely going to make it. But other than that, I have like anyone can like Stone maybe is someone that's
a possibility for sure.
Pearson?
Pearson is a possibility. Like Hunter is a possibility. Like but I'm not sure, like because it depends on how you look at all of these things. And
the
stats need to be broken down deeper. Like we have a lot of stats on the site, but they are not all of the stats that are taken into consideration, like big event playoffs and against which teams and how they do in turn, like in the maps they won, how they do in the maps they lost.
And also like awards, because I know we haven't really given up many MVPs from the online year. I think it was just the Pro League that we actually gave out. I'm not sure if we did anything apart from literally just the first tournament that happened after we went online. But there's just like some work to be done where we go back and just re-award some MVPs and EVPs that are also going to be taken into consideration, because those are just what can make a difference in the end. So it's just there's a lot of work to be done in the next 10 days or so.
Okay, well, it's lucky it's the holidays, right? So now you have to work more. Lucky you, Striker. I guess you've been waiting all year for this, but it's normally one of the most highly anticipated parts of the calendar. So I'm excited to see who. You all know it's going to be simple, and ZywOo is number 1 and 2. So
I don't think there's absolutely any discussion around that. I think that like they are in a world of their own.
It's so good that we have 2 players. Like, I'm glad it's not just a simple show. I'm glad that ZywOo is there as well, right? It makes things a lot more interesting.
Yeah, at least that last day is like something to look forward to. Otherwise, it'd be like, oh, okay, cool.
Just imagine being Device Man, having to compete against this for the second year in a row. They're like, fuck. Like,
I think he'll take all the major trophies, bro. I think like as much as being the best player in the world would probably be great, I think like just turning around and looking at your major MVPs and looking at your fucking major trophies and like looking at all the cars that you're buying, and you know, I don't know if he's buying cars. I hope he's buying Silent. A bit more sensible than cars, but either way, he's probably having a great time. Let's keep this one moving, because we got to give away some prizes to people soon. So we'll get through some of these last thoughts. We'll do these viewer questions, then we'll wrap up our thoughts on the year, and we'll send this one home. Top 3 flops of the year. Are we talking roster moves? Are we talking highly anticipated players? What are we thinking here, Prof?
I think we can just like do whatever the fuck we want.
Okay.
No one can stop us.
MIBR before they added VSM, Leo Drunky, and Lucas for the second time.
Fair.
Okay.
That's a big one.
That is a team literally disintegrating in front of our, like, that is a legacy team being torn apart by their organization due to misbehaving on social media and performing like shit. Like, it can't get much worse unless we talk about Ents. So
Ents is definitely up for discussion as well.
Worse. Honestly, I think MIBR is worse.
MIBR is a bigger brand, right? Like, it means a lot more to the MIBR brand to have like no longer legacy players in your team like Fur and FalleN, right? Taco as well has a massive brand. Like, to no longer have those guys. Obviously, we've spoken about what they've done with Kogo and everything since, but in a year of like that there's been a lot of shit. I think the way that MIBR roster handled themselves in a lot of these situations was actually fucking deplorable. So in terms of a flop after a heavy investment, I would put MIBR towards the top of my list. If we're gonna, yeah,
I think like Fnatic also was a pretty big flop this year because they went into it with all of those like top fours, finals, winning events, pretty like resurrected almost. And then like the online era destroyed them completely. Not completely. They're still relevant, not like MIBR level, but it's not been exciting. It's been really just like been there.
So what about like the coach bug stuff?
I
Do we
mean,
throw that
I guess
in the
that
mix?
can be. I guess that can be considered. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that
a big
was.
one.
To be fair, like I almost fucking forgot all about it. Like we haven't had anything.
There's more coming, Striker.
Yeah, I know, but that's what we've been saying for 2 months, right? And nothing happened so far.
Take
So I'm just
it
curious
on
about-
good authority. There's
Yeah,
more
yeah.
coming.
No, I know there is, but it's just something that I completely like erased from my brain for the past maybe week or two, just because it's kind of quieted down and nothing's been happening. So
Can I put this in? I mean, it did happen last year, but
Yeah.
I'd say like the Coldzera Nico partnership, that was a
Okay.
fucking flop. That like brought us absolutely nothing.
It was good
Like,
at the start of the year, but it did fall apart pretty
it
quick
didn't
after
really
that.
give us like like they had like the Blast Copenhagen that they won at the end of 2019. We didn't even get like some like super cool Coldzera Nico moments. There wasn't like a Coldzera Nico clutch. There wasn't like a 2-man carry for like one tournament or like a great grand final that they lost or something. That literally it brought us nothing. So I think that's like a missed opportunity
Okay.
for like fans overall.
Sure.
I think Coldzera's generally just been fairly underwhelming for what we expect of him anyway this year. Nico hasn't really, like, he's actually been better than last year. I feel like there's a good chance for him to have a better placing than whatever he was 10th, I think, last year.
Yeah.
Because I think he's like in the discussion for like a top 5 even. So from him, I feel like we've just seen a bit more of the Nico that we know, especially like towards the end of the year when he went to G2, right? But Coldzera just has had a fairly underwhelming year in general.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'll sign up for. I think that I can see the angle you're coming with, Prof. Like the fact that two legendary players like that, continents apart, friends, they unite. Like they're going to be, they both had really good Deagle rounds, but it wasn't like with each other, So
Yeah.
it's like, I guess we didn't get to see all of that. What else is a pretty big flop of the year? People in the chat are saying obviously CSPPA, that's in a lot of different facets. I guess you could discuss the CSPPA stuff, but someone has just even narrowed it down more, so say players striking. I think that right there was a flop in terms of
Communication.
Yeah, it just feels like if you were going to do that, maybe have like something prepared at the time, like so that you can tell the public why you're doing it, and, make sure that it's clear, make sure that there's messaging, but make sure that Chris J is not the only one fighting your battles on fucking social media. Like unite
That's a good call by the way.
Unite as the union and actually have every single team who is in the union involved coming out and all tweeting something at the same time. Like have an actual powerful message. Don't do it like a bunch of fucking spoiled kids throwing their toys out of a pram, right? Because that looked bad for everybody. And most of all, the people who are affected and the most confused were the viewers. So I think
still don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah,
because like
we're never gonna know, dude.
They had their statement, Blast had their statement, and no one knows what actually went down or if it's resolved. It's just like, okay, whatever. I think, yeah, Mad Lions is another flop.
Yeah, but I'm kind of sold. I'm not 100% back on, but I think like the fact that wait, you think they're a flop? How do you think they're a flop?
Look at like where they were at the beginning of the year.
They won $1 million.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I think they did okay, but they had this aura of like, oh, we can challenge the top 10, right?
Yeah,
and they
right.
had the mixture of players with Woopski, Akor, Shush. Like, okay, these guys can have
Go
sexual
far.
intercourse, right? That's and then they just like dwindled.
They self-sabotage, right? You get rid of Hunden, okay, we can all see that. It's the same situation as Crystal and GODSENT. Like we could all make that conversation, right? We can all see why you'd want to do that. Same with DAPS getting replaced 300 times in a year. Like we can all understand why they do a lot for the team, but you're not going to win trophies. So we get it. But I think like the Asilian pickup was pretty. That would have been. I would say the Asilian pickup is the flop because, like, if you replace Hunden and you're getting less out of it, or you're getting the same out of Asilian as you were from Hunden, then yeah, you're fucked up, right? Like that's what I think right there. What else happened?
I mean, I guess there's Astralis to be talked about, like halfway
Astralis'
through
original 7-man lineup.
Yeah, exactly.
That a flop.
I'd call that a flop. Like I think looking back at it,
wasn't even good PR, was it?
I mean, the PR around it, I think, was just botched. I do think that just because the only time where we can actually say it's been an extended roster is now, like last month, or not even that,
since Vitality did
last 2 weeks exactly. Like they only followed Vitality in the actual extended roster experiment. They only used other players when they had to, when they absolutely had to, when they just didn't have players ready to come back yet. So I think like the initial PR has definitely been, let's say, a bit confusing, if not misleading. So I think
they have stock to worry about. So
yeah,
that's the thing. Like that is, I think, at least why they have these like, oh, this is an amazing opportunity, unveiling Yugi. It's like, what the fuck? But like people that are trading stock don't know anything about Yugi. So for them, it's just like they are doing something incredible. Bye.
Yeah, I think for the hardcores, we all could see, and especially with the way that they went about implementing or not implementing it, right? And even how they're still implementing it now. Like the fact that Glaive on our show came out and said Bubsky's too aggressive. If he tones down that, he might get to play some games. But then the narrative's being spun that Zonic's the guy that gets to pick all the players. It's like, what's going on here? Like obviously there was a whole thing with that, and I think in certain maps Astralis could use a bit more aggression. I don't know if it has to come from Bubsky. Like Dupree was doing a good job at it, but I digress. I think obviously this Apeks situation that's just happening might be up there, even though it's little pond, big fish, little pond type thing.
The team, Apeks?
Yeah. Ents has to be in the conversation. Like we didn't think Ents could get any worse, really. Like there was a point of the year where I was like, Yampy's here, Alu Yampy double up. This is really exciting. The kid's Vacban, but he's very talented. And Sergey, maybe he'll return. And Sunny, he was really good in mouse sports. And poor Ariel has to take X7's roles. That was the only thing that seemed a bit down and made everyone a bit emo. But then it got worse. It got much worse. It got it got so much worse. Like, fuck. Didn't it just get? It's a nightmare out there. You wouldn't want to be dealing with that shit every day.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can even have a top 3 because there's so much bullshit this year.
Ents lost their. I was going on their profile to check something, and we have this like sponsored part of the team page where you have like a betting company. I don't even know which one it is, but it has like markers for the last games, and everything was red, just red dots. I'm like, this must be bug. They can't lose like 10 games.
Yeah.
And I went to their matches, and they lost their last 10 games. 10 games. So that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Even though it's irrelevant now, so that team move on. So yeah, I don't know. For the top 3, I don't know, bro.
There's too much. Like we didn't even say the schedule.
Coaches have to be number 1.
Yeah.
But that's like I expect people to like cheat, but that is too much. That's too much.
Yeah, I think that they especially the coaches who, even though it happened years ago for some of these guys it's more recent history. It doesn't matter. It's the fact that at any point, like, because some of the behavior when it was like in excess of, I don't know what we want to say as the cusp, but when you have guys who are in the realms of 100+ rounds of use, right, or even 50+ rounds of use, like 50+ rounds of use, guys, there's only 30 rounds in a match of Counter-Strike. Like, let's start to quantify that for a fucking second. You know what I mean? Like, it really is. I don't give a fuck if it's a 9 to 5 cup. I don't give a fuck if it's what. I don't care what level of event it was or what level of players it was. it's one of those things. Everybody here who's probably in chat, right? We've all had it. We've all been playing a pug before, and you're leaving spawn, and the game gets glitched because you alt tab back in, and you're floating in the air, right? We've all had that. We all know what that's like. And you run, and then as soon as you jump, your model goes back down, and you run around, and everything's normal. But like that right there is going to get you killed because you're fucking running out in the open because you're trying to look over silo on nuke instead of, you know, actually looking for the players that are going to fucking kill you. You're trying to be a cheeky cunt, and you're doing it in a pug because you're an idiot, right? But the stuff that these coaches were doing, and we've already harped on it, and I don't want to harp on about it anymore, but it threw our entire game into disrepute in a year where everything is already on fire, right? Like, we've had the whole COVID situation. We've moved completely online. We've had like so much argy-bargy of shit, like people getting stuck into people on social. Like I'm going to be honest with this. Some of the ways that the people are using social media, and this goes for people who are in my position, it goes for players, it goes for everybody, it goes for you guys watching, it goes for the fans, everybody at home. I think we all need to start fucking pulling our heads in a little bit. I know the internet's a fun place, and we all like to banter and talk shit, and we all grew up in that. Especially if you're an old cunt like me, you got called every name under the sun when you were a kid, and especially when you're a 14-year-old playing Counter-Strike, and your voice is a little bit higher, and you know we've all been teased like that. We all know what it feels like, but this is like a professional thing now, but it's not professional like it is football. It's professional like on the direction of going there, and it's probably a ways away from that. These players, I'm telling you, are super connected to their social media. So when you guys are going out there saying you're fucking shit and this and that, and these are kids. You guys were doing it to me when I was already 26 or 27. I already knew better. I hated myself, so you couldn't make me hate myself anymore. I've already fucking beat y'all. But like, I think one of the things that I've learned this year, and I still put people on blast all the time, right? Like some cunt made a dumb comment on Reddit the other day, so I screenshotted it and I pointed it out. But I just said he didn't have any brain cells. So that's all right. But I just think that we need to make sure that overall, what I've learned from the way that this year's gone is we need to just, first of all, make sure we've got our facts straight before we start fucking pointing guns and tweeting with millions of followers and trying to get fan bases riled up and shit. And second of all, if we do have all of our facts in the right place, can this be resolved privately? Does it need to be something done publicly? Okay, well, in some occasions, yes, some occasions, no. And then if it still has to be done publicly, let's make sure it's done like with some form of dignity to it, because we're all fucking adults. We all make mistakes. Life's short. And, you know, maybe that can be the learning of this year, that we don't be dickheads on social media anymore. Anyway, talking to HLTV.org people. What are we talking about? Yeah, I'm reading a thread today. I linked it to someone. Let me find it. I'm getting real off topic, but who cares? This is the last show. We're going to go wherever we want. Where is it?
Now I'm curious.
This is my favorite one. Like, it's not my favorite one. I'm being sarcastic. Why are women so moody on period? ? I mean, it sucks, yeah, but women lash out all the time for really minor things when they're on their period. Why do they do that? Like, why are we even writing that? Like,
maybe it's a genuine question. Maybe
this isn't Cosmopolitan magazine, prof. Fuck. Google, go on a Reddit.
I think that's like the synopsis of HLTV firm, that you can go anywhere from like talking about Counter-Strike to women's periods. I feel like that if that is to
be honest, like probably worst place to find the expertise on that, like 97.9 male audience.
Oh dear. Okay. Fuck. I've digressed. Do we have anything else we want to throw on this flop pile? I think we've covered a lot of the bullshit, and we probably even missed some. We could get stuck into the schedule like that. I don't even think we need to. Okay, so we got here HLTV confirmed all-star lineup. So I guess we can run through this one. Do you guys have any problems if we run a bit over tonight? Are you guys in a rush?
No, I'm fine.
Not really.
All right, cool. So the all-star lineup, let's do one each, right? Do you guys need time to think? Because I could probably pop mine off fucking real quick.
Well, just go for it.
Throw in something. We can start.
I feel like we have to say it has to be ZywOo and Simple. Like that has to be the baseline, right? Like we have to start
there.
They
can play together. Fuck it.
Yeah, but they can, because that's the thing. Like imagine
how
like
do you put it together?
Sorry?
How do you put it together? Like what's the dynamic?
Whoever the fuck feels like it. Like if we're building with specific roles in mind, then I have to change my team.
All right, fuck it. Let's just go ahead, right?
If we're building like the mutant that's walking around with 10 heads and just headshots everybody immediately.
Oh my god! Actually, your fucking team was the worst when you're doing that. Like whatever features for ESL, you literally had 5 baiters on a team. That was your team.
I had Glaive, Device, Nico, Cold Zero, and Simple, right? And
Was maybe Blame F even on that?
No, not mine. Not mine.
Okay.
The only player that I was thinking of changing, and maybe I should, because I didn't build it. The idea was calling it like Prime 6, right? Like the concept is players in their prime. And so I had Yanko go to me. Yanko goes, Chad, why didn't you pick ZywOo? And I go, I don't think he's in his prime yet, right? Like that was my genuine reason for not picking ZywOo, right? So
imagine that.
Well, I think that like he's younger than Simple, and he's only been playing at this level of Counter-Strike for 2 years now.
But the thing is, like, it's fucking difficult to imagine where he could go. He's already like, he and Simple have already shown like the highest level of CS that you can ever play. Like, can we even go higher?
If anyone's gonna go higher, it would be ZywOo, right?
Probably.
I mean, he dies like 15 times per map, so he can die like 10 times or 5. I mean, you can see obviously where it's not like he's not dying. Like it seems from a normal point of view of how CS is being played, it seems like so close to the perfection, but it's not. Like, of course, you can't play all of the situations in a way that you don't die. But there's obviously going to be...
You also can't win everything 1v5, right? Like, you can't always be in the position where you can win that exact round. It's just like how the rounds are set up, right?
True.
That's usually how it's not
but
because
if you
you
go
did
in
any
first and
mistakes.
get the first kill, and then the second one,
sure, but
just instantly headshot
then why
everyone.
are entry fraggers the best players? Like, why have entry fraggers never been the best players in the world, right? That's just kind of how it goes.
If we were going to reframe it though, right? So because I think if we were just to pick like that mutant, you'd say ZywOo and Simple.
You'd have to let's make something that makes sense
with roles. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna do something with roles, I still think you could put ZywOo and Simple in the same team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think you can.
Sure.
I'm just like curious in which way you would use the two of them, right?
I think ZywOo does things that are a bit more selfless on the T side. So I would have him as one of the more aggressive elements of the team with an entry fragger. Like he would be like second in. This is how I would be using ZywOo. And I think because he's already shown the comfort of willing to be like a secondary AWP, or in some situations with Navira, maybe have him as the secondary AWP and have Simple as the primary AWP. Sure. But then it's like, well, but I would want a device in the team as well. And then it's like, well, what the fuck am I doing now? Like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible anymore.
I don't know. I don't even know if I would still run with, like, I still think Glaive is the best in-game leader, but I don't know if I would pick Glaive. Like, maybe I would pick like, I don't know. Who would I pick as the in-game leader?
I mean, Blame F is an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, Blame F is definitely an option.
Yeah, well, then we definitely
when you look at this year, like we're talking about all-star team of this year.
Yeah. Okay.
He's definitely.
Well, then you're right.
And Glaive hasn't even played for like 3 months or something. So.
Okay, so yeah, I could see Blame as the in-game, but then like, who do you think has been the best AWPer of the year? Because like the best ride or die AWPer of the year is probably somebody more like a Device or a Searson instead of a Simple or a ZywOo, right?
Yeah, but I just can't skip out on Simple or ZywOo and help. So it's
exactly.
I think we have solved the AWPer. Let's just think about something else.
Like who's gonna be the guy that runs in front of ZywOo?
I would like to say Jackinho, ladies and gentlemen, but I feel that is me being extremely biased.
I mean, it is a good shout. Like, who else? Like, if you want to go like pure entry fragger, Art is also a guy that you could put into that. Who else?
Like a high level entry fragger. The Rain's been too up and down this year, I think, to be considered like successful in that role. I think like I'm thinking of entry fraggers who love running in. A lot of them are in-game leaders besides Blame F, right? Like Carrigan does a lot of dirty work. Whether or not he has success is different. I think Glaive has been doing a lot of like taking space on his own and pushing in aggressively as an in-game leader.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I guess you could give Dupree a shout, but
I
mean, Astralis are kind of. I mean, sure, he's like the most, I guess, entry on the team, but it's like they have plenty of rounds where like either Glaive does it or maybe Magic does it. Like, it's not as black and white where Dupree just runs in first every single time, right? It's just kind of like his tendency. So depends if that's okay with you or not.
People are suggesting config.
I don't mind that actually because he's had a good year.
That's not bad, and he would go in as a, like, if he knew that he had ZywOo behind him to trade, I would see config just going in and fucking going like guerrilla mode on him.
So like config in 2020 against top 30 teams, 24.3% attempt rate. So that's like 1 in 4 rounds he
Pretty
goes.
high.
That's like pretty high because it's like 20% would
That is,
be average,
that
right?
is really high, actually. Yeah.
That is pretty high. And then 107 entry rating, which is kind of okay for a rifler, right? I think that's like respectable. Like other people that come to mind, maybe Madden even though he doesn't do it in GODSENT right now. Like even with Crystal, he was the second guy in, but he can do it maybe as the first guy. But yeah, I think Config is actually a fucking good shout for that exact role.
Yeah, I don't mind that. So what? Simple ZywOo config. We said blame F. Maybe we can tweak the blame F one. I think blame F in terms of stats has been the best in-game leader, but would it work with this constellation of players? That's the question.
Kind of this like lurking presence on the side, on CT
He would
side.
fit
Maybe
in
that
role-wise. I don't know if we want him to be the in-game leader in this.
What,
I mean,
what
if you want to fit him in role-wise, like if you want to fit somebody in role-wise, you might as well just put in Nico, right? In that position.
I was going to say, what about Rops?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Actually,
Rob needs to be in this team.
Like Rops has been banging, right?
Okay, then Blameless is not an option unless we want to put him somewhere else.
Well, if we what would complement simple ZywOo config Rops as an in-game leader? Would it be someone who's like really selfless, like a Carrigan? Would it, or like then you would start defaulting back to a Glaive?
I would just go.
What if you want an Alexi
I'd
B?
just go with somebody crazy, like something insane.
Alexi B is not a bad shout.
I don't mind it.
He can do like stupid shit that needs to be done on the map, right? Which config maybe isn't going to be doing.
Yeah.
Config is going to run it first, but if you want someone to like lurk around and do a selfless play and not like a blame F baity play, then that can work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
I don't mind that
Nexa as well. Apeks.
Where I think the games that I've seen where Alexi kind of like grabs the game by the balls, and you can see instead of telling his teammates what he wants them to do in a round, he'll just go and fucking do it. And he just like gets a couple of like impact multi kills over sporadic rounds, and he helps like turn games for OG. And like obviously, you guys, you watch this show, you know that I've been fucking critical of OG, but I've never been hypercritical of somebody like Alexi, right? I've always thought he's a good in-game leader. So that one there, and people are saying Tabson. I think Tabson does similar things to Blame. Like he will go individually while his pack is off somewhere else. I think if you have simple ZywOo like and Rops in your team, you could trust any of those three names to go off and do whatever the fuck they wanted. So I think, yeah, Alexi. With the micromanagement of Alexi, I guess we're going way too deep there.
I think the other option is Nexa.
Yeah,
that could maybe also work.
Yeah, because he doesn't need to be going aggressive, but he can if the moment requires it. Nex is a good like glue player as well, like filling the gaps and being in the right place at the right time when he sees it.
Yeah, he's pretty versatile.
He's not big. So config first in, ZywOo second, and then you have simple on the op.
Yep.
You have Rops as lurk, and Nexa as like the support to the pack.
Yep. That's
or like passive lurk if needed.
Yeah, that's the team.
I don't mind it. I like it.
Wow, we did it, and even Twitch chat helped. Good job, Twitch chat. But whoever said config first, you win nothing, but we are going to give away prizes soon. All right, cool. Should we close this up and oh, wait, hold up. I had some questions. All right. You guys ready for these?
Okay.
Are you ready for these? This is what I was going to do at the end, but fuck it. Let's do it now because we're probably going to do some viewer questions and shit in a minute.
We can switch to playtime and then do that. So,
all right. Let's do it. Lucas, run the bumper. All right, welcome back. This is Playtime. I hope you like the bumper. I hope you're going to be at home during Christmas acting like a child playing with your toys. If you're not, cool. Anyway, I'm getting tired. But before I get tired, let's talk about some more shit. Now, I wrote down just some yes or no answers I wanted the three of us to go over here. And honestly, like how we feel with these ones. Because we're just taking a stab in the dark with these. Just on your gut feeling now, how you look at the climate of the globe, how you look at the Counter-Strike climate, and what you predict is going to happen. So I'll start with you, Striker. So the first one I've got here, will we have a major in 2021? Yes or no?
No.
Oof. All right, Prof.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna. Oh fuck. I'm gonna go. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go with yes. I'm gonna go with yes. I reckon we'll be able to. I reckon
There's
Valve.
a no context SPUNJ right there.
The reason.
Oh.
No, I'm not even going to give a reason. I won't even give a reason. We'll wait and see what happens. Okay.
But you don't want me to give a reason.
Now, fuck it. Let's just go like
Okay,
blind,
go
because if we can justify it later, because if we're wrong, then we never have to talk about it again.
I told you I was right, and now I'll tell you why.
I'll go with you again, Striker. Will more high profile, so players in the top 20, teams in the top 20, coaches go down with the next ESIC ban wave?
I think that's already kind of been said, wasn't it?
I
I'm
don't
pretty
know if
sure I've
anything-
heard that somewhere, so I feel like yes is the answer.
All right, Prof.
Fuck. I mean, wouldn't they leave already if they know they were caught? Like that's the only thing I don't understand.
Take as much fucking cheese made as you can before the mousetrap gets you. That's all I'm saying.
I'll be hopeful for the people that I know and met and operate in the same community as I do, and I'll say no.
Okay. I'm gonna go yes, because this year the community has disappointed me. All right, the third one I've got here. Will we see the competitive map pool adjusted in 2021, Prof?
Yes.
Striker?
I mean,
What?
yeah, I don't even have to add anything. Like we have to update something, right? I don't see why not.
Yeah. Striker, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go with yes as well.
I think it just would have been almost 2 years.
Way too long.
When did we have Vertigo?
21 months.
Yeah,
it was said.
Norse tweeted today, right? Or was it yesterday?
Yeah, I guess today. 21
How many?
months.
Really?
Yeah. So it's gonna be
What
2
the
years
fuck?
soon.
I thought
It's
okay.
It
crazy,
was
right?
literally beginning
Yeah,
of
that doesn't seem
2019. It was like the DreamHack Rio first event that was played with Avantgarde.
Okay.
That played it and won it,
Holy
and are still
shit.
pretty good on Vertigo, right?
That does not feel like a year and a half.
Yeah, it's because this year has gone by so quickly. That's the bit that's fucked us. All right, Prof. Will Astralis change roster next year?
Does it count if
yeah.
they have 6 men?
Okay. Will one of the we won't call them the Golden Five because
Well, like the
it
original
would be
5.
the OG 5. No, we can't use that one either. Will one of the 5 who have won multiple majors together be gone?
I'll say yes.
Striker?
No.
I'm gonna go with yes. All right, and last one I've got here, and we'll start with you, Striker. Will Navi change roster? Same situation. So they're current 5. So
current
Bit
5.
don't ignore Bit. Like he might replace one of them, but if one of the current 5 goes and he goes on, that's still a roster change.
Then yes.
Prof?
Surely. I don't know what the question was, but Navi changing one of the 5 players?
Yeah.
Has to happen.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay. Lucas apparently has a question for us. Lucas, do you want to ask the question to us?
So
Okay.
you guys are forgetting the most important question here. Are we gonna have Source 2 in 2020?
No. What are you, drunk?
But
No,
it
we're
was
not.
already finished and ready to launch.
We're not gonna get Source 2. Like, I think this one here, I'm gonna actually no, fuck, because that stupid Valve News Network and those idiots will pick it up and they'll write some fucking article, and I'm not going to be involved in their bullshit. We're not even talking about their nonsense. Okay. Sorry, Lucas, it was a bad question. Do you have another one? He was laughing, everybody.
No
He was laughing. He wasn't crying. All right. Okay, Prof, do you have questions from the viewers at home?
I actually didn't collect anything, but let's open the tweet where we asked for questions and scroll through.
Have a look right now. Yeah, let me see if I can find this. You guys can ask in Twitch chat right now as well if you want.
And yeah, we still have stuff to give away. Lucas can confirm what everything is. I mean,
Lucas, what are we giving away here this evening on the HLTV Confirmed game show?
Give me a minute.
Fuck, no one's ready. Well, you can tell it's in the
Our
year.
friend-
Everyone's like, fuck.
Okay, we have a pro gaming headset from Xtfry.
Xtfry.
A H1.
Makes you fly.
And there's a new
No, it
USB
doesn't.
sound card included. Amazing.
USB
USB
sound card? Okay.
And we also have a mouse pad, a GP4.
Is this with the headset? Does this come with? Okay, it's a bundle. You win both. Okay.
Let's go all out.
Okay,
There's
so
a
a mouse pad
pad
and a headset.
Yeah.
Like something like this. Looks pretty cool, honestly.
Okay.
The colors
Yeah,
are
I like
getting
it
fucked
too.
up.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these questions that Prof was just talking about. Prof, you linked me the tweet. Oh, you did.
I did.
Wonderful. And we're going to decide on which question here we think is the best, and we'll contact you and you win a bloody prize. Merry bloody Christmas.
Just a question we can easily answer. Will the new year bring us a new HLTV confirmed season? Actually, since we didn't do anything that we wanted with season 5 still, including a new intro, new quiz, nothing has been done. So we'll continue with season 5 until we at least like finish that. And like we want to bring something new with each season. We didn't really do it with season 5, but yeah, that's the kind of the gist. Not really just years, but more like different styles and stuff.
I was thinking, I don't know about you guys, but I was thinking that and I think it's really good to have the players' takes. Like I like the hot seats that we were doing that were quite extended as well, because we were digging in a lot more, and it feels like even players are reaching out to us now to come on the show.
Yeah.
But it also, like the show that we've done here this evening, where we've been much more conversational and it's been back and forth between the three of us. I think like what we should do is we should do like one with the players where we do the quiz, we do the hot seat, and we ask them about some of the biggest things that have happened to get their takes, right? Because it's always great to have the current takes from them. But also I think we should do shows like where it's with us, or we have like somebody else that's a pundit, like a community figure, not necessarily a player, and we can talk more openly. Because I think like we could even do, you know, it's probably going to be a lot of work and Martin might not want to pay me, but like we could even do 2 shows a week, one with a guest that everybody wants to see, and one where we cover off on all these topics and we do some of these extra things, because there's so much stuff that we can cover off. It doesn't feel like, right, again, we're 15 minutes over right now. It doesn't feel like we've been talking for 2 hours and 15 minutes. No. The time just fucking flies. So yeah, hopefully we can do more of this next year, regardless. But there should be another season. And we were talking about maybe trying to sync some stuff up around the top 20. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll take a look with that one.
There's a question in the chat. When will SPUNJ go pro again? I think I can answer that. You've already been signed by Cloud9, obviously, for a Danger Zone team with Rushley. So
yeah,
that's an easy one.
I got home and the merch was on my bed, so that's how you know it's real. But a serious thing.
It's the
okay. I wanted to ask a question from Twitter, if that's fine. So there's a question: seeing the success of Vitality's 6-man roster experiment of 2020, name a team besides Vitality from the past. Doesn't have to be an active team or any time that is the most likely candidate to replicate. Okay, there are 2 questions. So now I'm reading the wrong one. But the questions that I read from this same guy was like a team in the past that would benefit the most from a 6-man roster. That would have changed maybe the outcome of their whatever era or something. And that team that comes to mind for me was MIBR with Fur and Phelps, because their Inferno used to suck so much because they had 2 guys that just couldn't make that work. So maybe if they got one player that could play that map on Banana for them, that could have maybe changed everything, because Inferno is such a crucial map because everyone plays it. And that's just like a weakness that people kind of exploited on them, and they eventually went down.
Nothing really jumps out to me initially. I'm trying to think some of these teams who maybe like VP. So before like VP imploded and hated each other because Taz got a car and the other guys were salty because they weren't as good on social media and didn't do anything to promote their brands, while Taz was actually the face of everything and doing a lot for the team. And that's something that VP should probably want to reward. I think that maybe like a 6-man in there might have helped with like motivation for some of the players. Like it's like, okay, well, this map here, we can see that, you know, such and such is having a real hard time. Let's bring in an upper, and it would have helped them with the integration as well. So I think like some of these older teams, it would have been really cool if they could have had a 6-man that they integrated in a couple maps, and then let's say fucking Taz is like, yeah, you know, I only want to focus on Nuke and Train. So then he only plays Nuke and Train, and then this guy plays all the other maps. And then then they, you know, that would have been a really cool time to see that. So we didn't just have the greats legacies completely capitulate. But nothing else really stands out for me, like as a oh yeah, this would have been really cool if they could have had anything for you, Striker.
No, not really. Can't really think of anybody.
There's a funny. It's not even a question. It just says rap battle between Chris J and Cersei.
That would be a cool rap battle. I don't know who would win the rap battle, but I would definitely tune in to watch it. I would probably have a good time with it.
Pay-per-view.
Yeah,
And
would
use
it-
Sounds
that
like
money
good
to
auxiliary
fund
content.
to fund the ESIC.
the CSPPA.
Amazing.
Oh, okay, shit. All right. What do we think about Counter-Strike boxing matches? We got all the celebrities doing it these days.
Oh, man.
What if we start setting up some Counter-Strike boxing matches? Like at
You're
events
back
instead
in
of
the cage.
The
Back in the
Glaive
cage
Cadian
discussion.
one, we already made some promo for that on
Yeah.
the show. So
let's get some more going.
like let's start.
Yeah.
we, like the three of us here are like similar weight category. I feel like we could start with that.
No, we're going to be the adjudicators. We're not going to get in the fucking ring, mate. I don't want
You
anyone
need to
punching
lead
me in
by
the head.
example. That's
Okay.
that's
All
my
right.
idea.
All right. Do we have any other questions here? I'm trying to flick through to see if anything sticks out. You guys did a terrible job of asking questions. I'm sorry.
Let's see.
No, here's a nice one for me. One thoughtful gamer. He said, as a talent, I don't like that term. It makes me sound like I've got a stick up my ass. How has this year been? We know about the players and teams have handled it, but not really about the differences for the talents. Now, I would say that for everybody, it's obviously experienced differently. So I don't want to hammer on too hard here. But for me personally, this year I have never felt so good, like physically, because I haven't been on an airplane every week. I know a lot of you think it's a fucking dream. You get to travel everywhere. Yeah, that's fine. You can only do that for so many years before your body gives up. And I'm old. And I mainly just work for ESL. I obviously did Blast at the start of the year, and then I did another Blast thing. But mainly I just did ESL, and ESL really took care of me and all the other guys. Like they made sure, like this time round, we were in a 5-star hotel in Cologne. I was there for 4.5 months. I had a tournament PC, I had a kitchenette, I had a life that I haven't had since before I was a professional Counter-Strike player. And I this year for me, in terms of not being able to travel and not being able to go home to Australia and shit, that all sucked. And doing countless broadcasts in a row, that kind of made it difficult to present anything new. But in terms of like a personal thing, I actually think it was one of my one of the years where I don't want to say enjoyed myself because it was COVID, right? That sounds really bad, but I had a chance to kind of reflect. I think that's what this year was for me. I don't know if that answers your question, one thoughtful gamer, but hopefully.
There's something a bit off topic, but I guess kind of relevant to the international scene. What's my opinion about the Oscar move to Sinners? Do you feel like they will make the top 30? We could see them at some bigger events. Honestly, I literally just, even before I even heard about this move about to happen, I literally said, like, if these guys got Oscar, like nobody would beat them locally, which I feel like I still stand by. They already dominated the scene throughout the last year. They literally won everything. They never won. They never lost a single series throughout the entire year, and that was without Oscar and with an Alper that was relatively volatile and kind of like a bit crazy. So now that they got Oscar, I think there's a decent chance we're going to get a team in the top 30. I'm not going to say that they are. It's just really difficult to do it now. I think it's much more difficult than when Xstatus did it with Frozen and those guys. So I think it's just, I think they'll have a shot at it at least.
I feel like that it's so much tighter now between so many, like to break through now feels like almost impossible.
You basically just have to have like a couple of really good performances so you get some of the invites and then just start snowballing, right? And but that's obviously difficult. You have to have a really good tournament.
Who's Aaron Eckhart? Does anyone know?
I just saw that's the guy that played Two-Face in the Batman movie.
Oh, okay. Which one would win a fight, Prof or Aaron Eckhart? Okay, that's an interesting question. I think most of these here, I'm going to quickly look at Twitch chat, so if you guys have anything you want us to spam it there, but I think it's going to be really hard to pick a winner right now. None of these are really jumping off the page.
I guess we can just like, we can do something else like on Twitter or something with
why don't we do this?
I like the question that you asked. I don't know if that's what we can do.
Which
one?
Well,
which team would have used the 5-man roster before?
Oh yeah, that was actually a pretty good question.
I think
you have to think about it. Do you want? Yeah, let's do that one. That one. Yeah. Who asked that?
It was Geckons. He's actually someone that.
Oh, I know the name.
Yeah, the Latvian player and not player anymore. Has an HLTV profile, so that's most important.
Well, he wins.
He wins. Volsung legend. So probably a Kinder's former teammate as well. Some time ago.
There you go.
We have a massive fan base in Latvia and the Baltic region, which is amazing.
Really?
Shout out to the Baltic guys.
That's pretty cool.
He did play with Jackinho, by the way.
There we go. There was a question about counter quiz coming back.
You guys already did an episode, right?
We already did one episode. There's one more coming
tomorrow.
I'm not going to tell.
Probably.
Probably tomorrow. Apart from that, I'm trying to lock down the teams. At this point, I don't have anybody locked in yet, but I'm hoping to get one more before the end of the year. I'm not sure if it's going to be possible, though. It's kind of getting close to the holidays, and people don't really want to do stuff. So maybe at the start of next year.
Will do one.
Yeah, that's true. That's still in the pipeline. I think we'll save that for the early next year or something like that when there's nothing going on.
Okay, so we're going to give away to what was his name again, Prof?
Gekons.
Okay, he's going to win the Xtfry headset and mouse pad. Lucas has just informed me as well. We have another set. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it away on social media. And what I want is you guys to get creative. Now it's the holiday period. You got our 3 lovely faces on screen now. I don't give a fuck what picture you use. And we'll also tweet this out as well. So Lucas, make sure, or Dimitri, you're probably in here. Make sure someone's taking notes about what I'm saying, because this is about to be for a giveaway. We are going to, I want you guys to make like posters. You know, you can get like a movie poster. You can make your own fucking poster. Something creative. Something with our faces, something, it can be holiday, it can be anything, it can be whatever you want. But make something creative with the 3 of us like involved. And you can even involve Lucas if you want. It can be a video. Get creative. And what we'll do is we will give it until, let's give it until after Christmas. Let's go until fucking the 28th. You have until the 28th to submit some stuff on the interwebs over the social medias. And we, the 3 of us, the 4 of us with Lucas involved, we'll pick which one we think is the most creative or the most well-made, the one that we like the most. And we'll send you some more prizes. Thanks to Xtfry for sponsoring the show and making this all possible. So there we go. We just made it up. Yeah, if you want to put stuff in there about Lucas being fired, that's pretty cool too. I think we're probably going to close this one down now, guys. I think we're probably done for the year.
Yeah.
You got anything you want to say for the year, Prof, to the people at home?
I don't know. Fuck it. Like nothing, probably.
Okay.
Fuck it is also fuck it and nothing. Like I think I'll actually try to stream during the break for like something that I wanted to do for quite a bit, just for fun, and see how that goes. Probably during the morning because I go to sleep at like 11 anyway. So fuck.
Sweet. Kind of regular person bedtime. Strike, you got anything you want to say to the people at home?
Nothing. Stay positive.
Not
positive.
Not HIV positive.
Stay HLTV positive.
There you go. That's a tagline right there.
That's an internal joke. We've used that before.
Okay, I like that one. Lucas, you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Goodbye, everyone. I hope I'm here after Christmas.
He'll be here. He's the only one who we can get to work for almost nothing. So yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in all year. Thank you for you putting up with us starting the show late. Sometimes we've definitely got better at that as the year's gone on. And as Prof was saying before, we hope to bring you a couple of new things going into next year. From this standpoint, maybe we do a couple of extra shows. Maybe we do some more game changer stuff. Really depends on what's happening here, there, and everywhere. Thank you to HLTV for continuing to support this, because without them pushing for this, and obviously with the features and stuff, we wouldn't have as many of you tuning in and enjoying this. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. As usual, anchor.fm/HLTV, twitch.tv/HLTV.org for the VODs and stuff. There's the YouTube channel as well. You guys should know how to get there. And we don't have a date when we're coming back for the next one, but we'll give you guys plenty of lead in. And just keep yourself ready and raring to go for 2021. Let's be kind to each other, and let's use 2020 as a year to maybe reflect on some of the things we need to fix going into the next year in Counter-Strike in ourselves. And unfortunately, next year, you're probably going to hear an awful lot more of me casting. So if you haven't liked it, unlucky. Good night.
Get used to it.